What's going on, everybody? John here with you. It is a Saturday, April 19, 2025. We're going to get set here shortly for the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars. Let me give you the starting lineups here first and get you set before I join Alec in progress. So for the Avalanche, head coached by Jared Bednar, let's look at their record. 49-29-4, 102 points. They were the third seed in the Central. It's going to be Artturi, Lehkonen, Nathan MacKinnon, Valentin, Jonathan Drouin, Brock Nelson, Marty Necas, Joel Kiviranta, Charlie Coyle, Ross Colton, Parker Kelly, Jack Drury, Logan O'Connor. On defense, Devon, Cale, Makar, Sam Girard, Josh Manson, Ryan Lindgren, Sam Malinsky. Mackenzie Blackwood's going to get the start net today. Scott Wedgwood will back him up. And for the Dallas Stars, head coach by Peter DeBoer, they're 50-26-6 with 106 points. They're the 2 seed in the Central. They'll have home ice advantage to start. It sounds like this. Mikael Granlund, Rope Hintz, Evgeny Dodonov, Mason Marshman, Matt Duchene, Tyler Seguin, Jerry Benoit, Johnson, Mikko Rantanen, Oscar Bach, Sam Steele, Maverick Bork. On defense, it'll be Thomas Harley, Ilya Lyubushkin, Esa Lindell, Cody Ceci, Liam Bichel, and Alexander Petrovich, with Jake Ottinger as the starter, and Casey DeSmith will back him up. So very interesting in terms of where things are going in this series, because for the Dallas Stars, when you look at their outlook, 0-5-2 in the last 7 games. They did not play well when they had started all their starters in Game 82 against Nashville. About 5 goals against in this 0-5-2 stretch, 40-50 shots against. Nothing was close. There was a 7-game win streak prior, but here's the issue. Besides having a matchup that could be played as the Western Conference Final, again, somebody's bracket's going to get busted. The injury of Robertson, which is week to week, and I know Dallas fans can say, well, he doesn't do much in the postseason in the last couple of years scoring goals. Again, I always said that could be further for the truth because you need his defense, but he has been scoring this year. Heiskanen and Robertson are critical. And what that also means in the back end as well, with Heiskanen's injury, it's Lindell and Harley have to stay split for Peter DeBoer, because you can't have your top line D pair do everything. You got to have that split, make sure that you can stop goals on multiple lines. But as a result, it does mean that Cody Ceci and Ilya Lyubushkin are going to have to play top 4 minutes. If Dallas wins that side of the ice, that's going to be the clear decider for me who wins this series. And since the trade to Colorado, Mackenzie Blackwood has been brilliant. 22-12-3, 233 goals against, 913, 3 shutouts. Scott Wedgwood, 19 games. Masterful, 13-4-1 for the former Star, 199 goals against, 917, 2 shutouts. Mackenzie Blackwood, since the Four Nations break, has had a sub-900 save percentage, but I do think that it's going to get bumped up. Again, for the Colorado Avalanche, you insert Marty Necas. Mikko Rantanen is on the other side after being traded from Carolina now to Dallas. This is a team under Chris McFarland and Joe Sakic that has changed all the way around. We got Nathan MacKinnon, Nelson, Coyle, Drury, all sorts of center depth now that you've added. Ryan Lindgren, Keaton Middleton, Eric Johnson, some of them have been scratches, and then goalies Alexander Georgiev, Justice Onanen, Capo Kakin, and Trap Minor. They weren't even getting AHL level goaltending, so that's why you added Mackenzie Blackwood and Scott Wedgwood. So this will bust brackets, as we said going into it, but who knows what we're going to see. I'm still taking Colorado to get to the Stanley Cup Finals with Tampa, and if I did have to pick a team, I think it's going to be the rematch and the completion from the 2022 Stanley Cup Finals, which was started with Cooper Hopkins, and that was a Colorado Avalanche victory. Here's the one thing of note. You're not going to see him today, Gabe Landeskog, coming off that injury. I haven't seen him skate in 3 years in an Avalanche uniform, but it is still Gabe Landeskog at the end of the day. We will see him as this series goes forward. And again, before I join Alec in progress, I just want to make mention, having to house sit alongside my cousin and his wife as they go to Japan. That's going to start tomorrow from the eastern side and then all the way up until May. That's going to put me coming back into coverage probably about Game 6 and Game 7 on the first round, as May will start to get that calendar turn there. So that's probably where I will come back into progress. So I'm going to miss a lot of the first round, but once I do make the comeback, as far as getting everything on YouTube and the Twitter space, X space, I will be here for the eternity, for the rest of it, and then in the Stanley Cup Finals, we'll be working alongside Alec Nava per usual. I probably will get some twos games with Cooper Hopkins as well. It should be a lot of fun. Let's get set to join Mr. Nava here in progress, as now we will get going here Again, we're still waiting for St. Louis and Winnipeg. We got about 2 minutes and 50 seconds. He's going to go through his notes. I gave you my preamble, but we'll join in.
By the Avs. So far, they are not regretting that decision. He's a big, mobile puck stopper whose post mobility suits an Avs team that can be susceptible to the odd man rush. And he's on an ill-timed function. Played in Colorado's worn down on players, but they combined for a single goal in last year's 6-game series of the second round. To get John on here. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. I know on the other side I preambled the rosters and everything else, as I'm sure that you've gone through. I know we're not going to see Gabe Landeskog today, but he will be a mainstay as this series goes forward, which is crazy. We haven't seen him in 3 years, Alec. But there is a few things that are on my mind as far as this series, and I'll just go through that really quickly, and then we can introduce Ian here. But you look in the back end of the injuries, you have Jason Robertson week to week. That one is big, but for Miro Heiskanen, he's going to miss the start of this series. And what that does to me is it puts in the back end, because again, you got no Niels Lundqvist as well, that Cody Ceci and Ilya Lyubushkin are going to have to play top 4 minutes. And I do think Dallas is going to have to try to somehow get the advantage of that. And if they do, that can go a long way to figuring out who's going to win this series. But I will say this, Alec, I do believe, at least out of the first 2 games, Dallas has to split. They cannot go down 2-0 against Colorado to start this series.
Yeah, because the biggest concern about Dallas is the right side of their defense. Miro Heiskanen can play on either spot, the left or the right. But ever since he went down, it's the Thomas Harley show on defense because he's been leading the way as their top defenseman and their primary power play quarterback. And he's been filling it admirably, especially in this sample size in the 4 Nations face-off. But ever since, where's the rest of the defense been outside of him and Estelle Lindell? Because it's been a bare-bones cupboard for Dallas. The problem here is that Cody Ceci, he's a reliable defenseman when he doesn't have to take up too much responsibility.
Sure.
The problem is he has taken up too much responsibility, and when you look at this, the Winnipeg Jets are up 4-3 of a late game-breaking goal of 136. Kyle Cotter, how about this kid?
The Shelby Township, Michigan native with an absolute rocket on a 1T, and it sends the whiteout into a frenzy with 136.
This is what I figured. The clutch goal scoring is going to have to emerge. And while by no means is this going to end in a quick series, because these two teams match up perfectly with one another, Winnipeg, with their clutch goal scoring, had the upper hand in this third period. There were some moments in which they had some scares, because it appeared that they were playing scared throughout that second period. There were other moments in which they were lagging behind, but it was the top line that emerged in this third period. Alex Iafallo tied it. Connor puts them up front, and Jim Montgomery could be using his timeout soon enough. Shots are 25-16, Winnipeg. And if you think that the whiteout is an intimidating crowd, think again.
Man, oh man, Alec, I got to say that before for the Iafallo goal, as you called it. Mark Scheifele has been an animal so far in this game. That pass he made off the half spin and behind it out of Jordan Binnington was one of the best passes I've ever seen.
Oh, yes, it was. And the thing about him is that he wasn't intending to fire the puck home on the opening goal for Winnipeg. He was trying to make a pass to the slot, but it takes an awkward bounce off this Blues defenseman's stick right in front of the crease when on the power play. So here we go. Net is empty for Jordan Binnington as the Blues go 6 on 5. St. Louis has fired 16 shots, but they need to get a goal quick here in the final minute. But here's a 2-on-1 back the other way. The Jets can ice it. They will not, but there's a puck back home. And that basically seal it. Adam Lowry, captain.
The captaincy's pretty good, Alec. I think he's pretty underrated. Again, he's got a lot of size. Do they want to try to challenge something on the St. Louis side? I see that at the top. I don't think it's going to work, though.
They might be looking at an offside, but I don't think it is offside. But this may be a legal entry, but nonetheless, if you fire just 16 shots on goal at Connor Hellebuck, chances are that's not a recipe for winning. I know St. Louis gave Winnipeg a scare, but it was Winnipeg's forechecking that was the upper hand here in this third period, and they showed that. That Scott Arniel made the adjustments at the second intermission, and they were key for Winnipeg to get another come-from-behind victory. Just their third victory on the season in which they were trailing entering the third period.
It's a very good stat line by you. And again, at least we don't have to talk about this for Connor Hellebuck in this game one, because I think 3 goals against on 16 shots is too many. But when you keep that shot suppression, as you said, it puts you on the right front. And Winnipeg Jets, I would say this because I don't envy them in this first matchup against St. Louis. It was pretty difficult considering how well they played down the stretch as we get an offside over hand pass. But Winnipeg really needed to get off to the right foot. It looks like they did.
Yeah, it looks like as such because they've had infamous flameouts in the last 2 postseasons. Last year was gut-wrenching to watch for the Jets outside of a 7-6 first game victory, in which you were wondering, what the heck happened here? And then it was all downhill from here. Connor from Shifley and Morrissey, and what a feed from Shifley to set up Connor for what could be the game-winning goal. Because the Jets are up by 2 goals, no overtime is needed. In a full crowd, in a full sold-out crowd here in the playoffs, the Jets have never had an overtime playoff winner at home. There are only 2 overtime home playoff winners who have empty crowds in the COVID year.
So we're going to be getting about 25 seconds left. We got about an 8:55 puck drop. That'll put us in about another 10 minutes. Alec can get set to take that one away. I can jump into the second. We got a scrap here, Alec.
Oh, these 2 are not done yet. We know these 2 teams met in the first round of the 2019 playoffs, and Alex Iafallo just takes down his man. Are we sure we're in the Stanley Cup playoffs, or are we in WrestleMania, John?
Well, WrestleMania is going on, correct? There's a lot going on today.
Yeah, as you mentioned about WrestleMania, that is currently taking effect right now. And Iafallo is not done yet with Alexei Torchenko. Dylan Sandberg is with Justin Falk. And it looks like the officials are having to do a lot of work here to try to separate everyone. And Braden and Luke Shen's parents are here in the stands in the middle of this. I don't know who they're rooting for.
All I would say is just root for the chaos. I think you have to do that now. This was a heck of a start to the Stanley Cup playoffs between these two. It was a very entertaining game. I'm expecting the same as much in our next game.
Yeah, I would expect as much. And of course, there's the infamous stat that's been lingering in Dallas. It's one thing about losing Jason Robertson, but they do have enough forward talent to keep up with them. But they need to break that huge over streak in the series opening games. They've lost their last 7. 5 of them have came in overtime, with 2 in the second overtime. And I'll list the overtime heroes in which Dallas has lost to. Ryan Hartman against Minnesota. Yanni Gourde against Seattle.
Yeah.
Brett Out against Vegas. And then you go on to the second round. Miles Wood against Colorado, who they're facing in this series. Connor McDavid in the conference finals last year.
A lot of those ones that we've called together, remember those well, and you're exactly right. Again, that's why I said I think Dallas has to split here with Colorado. And that's not to say, because I said this a little bit in my open before I joined you, Alec, but this really is a series that probably should be a Western Conference final, but the 2-3 format doesn't put that way as such. But brackets are going to be busted.
And no matter which way you look, somebody's bracket's going to end up busted one way or another, and people are going to leave upset. These are the kind of playoff series in which fans are wanting to say, hey, we want the 1-for-8 playoff format back here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to think about. And also, I'm sure you mentioned this too, but for Jake Ottinger, and I know they lost that series a few years ago against the Calgary Flames when Johnny Gaudreau scored in that Game 7, but if Jake Ottinger can find a way to channel some of that from 3 seasons ago, that would do him better, because Jake Ottinger, slightly above, a 900 save percentage throughout the postseason. He's got a 911 this year, 36-17-4. He's played a lot of games, Alex. So I kind of wonder if Jake Ottinger probably isn't as fresh as he could be.
That's what the wonder is too. People asking this about Tampa Bay and how much they were using all their players. All of that extra hockey caught up to them. Well, now that they came out of back-to-back first-round exits, perhaps they don't have a lot of wear and tear on their bodies anymore, and they could go on a deeper run. The Florida Panthers, on the other hand, you'd wonder if all that wear and tear from all that extra hockey from the last 2 years is catching up to them, which could point to the question if the Panthers could be the first straight defending champion to bow out at the first round.
Like I said, I would say the same thing with some of these other series between St. Louis and Winnipeg. I don't envy Florida and Tampa. That's going to be an absolute bloodbath when that one starts at Amalie. As the crowd is at their feet waving the towels, the Winnipeg Jets are going to win Game One by a score of 5-3 at the Canada Life Center, and we're still not done against the boards.
I mean, I don't blame them one bit. I know St. Louis might be venting their frustrations out after the midst of it. They showed 2.4 seconds on the clock. I know the officials have to deal with some more ejections. And if this continues on in the thin amount of time that we have left, we might not even have full benches anymore. We might have just 6 players on each bench by the time this is all said and done here. This is getting ugly. Someone has to step in to make sure this doesn't get out of hand.
Yeah, we just got to make sure to get this puck drop and have everyone going to the dressing room. As you see, Letty, Joseph. I'm looking on the right side as Stanley was tied up there with Falk. Stanley is just trying to kill some time against the boards. And then a bear hog ensues. You got Scott Walker there getting some talking to. And alongside with Shen as the fans pound the glass.
And Nathan Walker and Luke Shen of one another. And
Thank
Luke
you.
Shen wants no part of it. One of the two Shen brothers on the ice. There was a feeling to me, what if they would share the same ice? But that's a long time ago. If you think to the time when both were Philadelphia Flyers teammates, and now they're rivals up against one another in a playoff series. St. Louis is not done yet, and even though the Jets are the President's Trophy winners, I do not anticipate this series being a 4-game series win for the Jets. In fact, I think it's much tighter than this.
I would say, Alec, at best, the Winnipeg Jets would win this one in 6.
That's how I feel the same way. That Winnipeg takes us in 6. But St. Louis could be capable of an upset with the way that they ended the season. The hottest team after the Four Nations break, and they went on that historic 12-game winning streak. There's the part of people in which it gives serious Gloria vibes with this Blues team. It might be feeling that way. The Jets win is official. Game 1 belongs to the Whiteouts. The Blues will have to rethink and think about what to do in the next game. But so far, not bad for them.
No, you're right. Again, the 17 shots is not enough, and that's the thing you look back on. And here's the other thing as we go forward into this series. Jordan Binnington is one of those goaltenders, Alec, you know it all too well. He's more than capable of stepping up his game to probably stealing a few. And that's what Winnipeg's going to have to be thinking about. Get those shots on net, suppress it the other way as they did, and make sure Jordan Binnington doesn't steal it in the crease.
That's the key here for Winnipeg, to make sure that Binnington doesn't go Four Nations face-off mode like he did against the United States, in which he stole the show and put Austin Matthews on the milk cart, as he said in that game.
Yeah.
And Matthews was like, how did I not score there? How am I looking like I'm a missing person? I'll tell you how. Jordan Binnington, that's how.
Yeah, he stole it. And again, we got about 2.5 minutes till we get into our game. Now, if you can get set to lead it off, or if you want me to, I can do the same. But I'm looking at this as far as the Stars' projected lineup. I see Jimmy Benn, Wyatt Johnston, and Mikko Rantanen on the third line for Dallas and Peter DeBoer. We already know about Mikko Rantanen and his pressures in between Colorado. Got to play with Nathan MacKinnon, got a ton of points. Didn't work out in Carolina. He's been about a point a game since he's been in Dallas. You think you're going to feel a few extra heartbeats if you're Mikko Rantanen?
There might be that feeling here from the American Airlines Center. A few heartbeats right in front of a packed crowd, right onto his new team where he's going to spend the next 8 years with. And this is crucial because this is former team, which ignites our rivalry here. Jamie Benn hasn't been the same as years past, but he's still serviceable on a bird line role. And his chemistry with Wyatt Johnston works a ton.
Yeah, the only thing for Jimmy Benn over the years is just make sure he reins in some of that aggressiveness and stays on the ice. You don't want to have any situations like it was in Vegas a couple of years ago when that got a little nasty. You know that all too well, and I won't repeat that too much when he got his shots going out to the truck. So make sure he stays out on the ice. Again, Rope Hintz, hopefully he's healthy enough. Again, Matt Duchene, former Avs. Scott Wedgwood now on the other side as he's with the Avs, former star. There's a lot of players on these two teams that know each other quite well.
Yeah, a lot of the same faces and new places in this rivalry. You mentioned Scott Wedgwood going from Dallas to Colorado. Joe Kiviranta, Game 7 overtime hero from the COVID bubble year. Now with Colorado, he's one of those playoff heroes that can step up. Mikko Rantanen on the other side from Colorado to Dallas on that end. And you get all reliable vets that can and be serviceable on key bases all around. As you mentioned about Keeper Ranta on Colorado. Not to mention about the Avs loading up at the deadline, which is going to work wonders.
And I failed to mention the biggest name. My apologies, because he really hasn't been on the ice all that much. But when it's the postseason, he really shows out his start of the play. Val Nichushkin.
Yes, Valerie Nichushkin, another former star who's blossomed under Jared Bednar's system as he got the freedom to work around in the top six. Avid forechecker, excellent penalty killer, and excellent net front presence.
Yeah, he does it all. And again, I think Alec and I can tell you this, alongside with the Avalanche, when the playoffs also hit, Artturi Lehkonen's numbers take a big bump. Expect him to play a big role in this series.
He's especially at his best when he's ending a series. He has 3 series-clinching goals. Two of them in the conference finals, one for Montreal, one for Colorado, and even as a Stanley Cup final winner to his name.
Well, I'm looking forward to this, Alec. I think you and I both know what our projections are as far as Stanley Cup finals. We both got the Avalanche going through. That's not to say the Stars can't get this done. I'm looking forward to it. We think this is going to be a long series, correct?
Yes, it is going to be a long series. We are underway here at Dallas, a rematch of last year's Western Conference semifinal series, and we're underway here. And walking his zone around the Avs with the first touch, and the Stars are driving it towards the outside wall far side. Esa Lindell scoops it up with a check from Artturi Lehkonen. Sends this one down for the ice, and Cale Makar, slated to be a Norris Trophy winner for another time, and possibly could be doing so as well. David MacKinnon, Hart Trophy winner last year, could be on his case for his second Hart Trophy this year. Though Leon Draisaitl and Connor Hellebuyck could be having a say in that. Rope hits around for the far boards. Sends this to the near side. Chopped away in it. Gravlin couldn't scoop it up. A tie-up. Nelson couldn't scoop it either. But a Drury helps him out. And through the far side, sent down deep. Where Auditor will lead this one behind. For Thomas Harley. Pressured by Nelson. Trade deadline pickup from the New York Islanders. And the Stars will reset. Harley. Speeding down through the near side. He'll send this through the near boards. Bounced up, and Makar is there. Archman had trouble with it as escapes out through the right point towards Liam Bishop, who keeps it in for a moment. As Keeper Ranta, the former star, he almost got plastered along the glass. And it's not what he wanted, because that would have been a repeat of what Zdeno Chara did to Max Pacioretty, and which was a scary injury. You don't want injuries like that. And around to the far boards, this is Colorado controlling the pace. Up in the far half boards, Keeper Ranta weaving his way through 2 checks. He manages to survive all of that. He spins around Tyler Seguin. Keeper Ranta sent toe to wall. Logan O'Connor is there. Bounced up. Jack Drury could not handle this one. And the Stars escape with this. 3-on-2, but they will decide to shoot this to the far corner. And Oscar Bach decides to go for a change. Avs scoop it up. They'll set it for the near side boards. O'Connor. 4 points out there driving the pace. Here's Drury. Intending to go from far to near, looking for Kelly. Couldn't do so as Bob was in the way. And Cody Ceci, who was on last year's Oilers, on the bottom pairing next to Brett Kulak, sends this one out, but is held in by Josh Manson. Early shot. Rebound chance. It's loose in the crease and swept away by the Stars. And they might have iced this all the way down. Blackwood signals for it. And yes, it is an icing.
That was a fantastic desperation save for Jake Ottinger. I'm not even sure he knew it hit its left pad, Alec. There was a rebound right in between the middle of the slot. Probably should already be 1-0 Colorado, as that was just a great save.
And Parker Kelly in front to pick up Josh Manson's rebound, who was right in tight with the defender close to his face. It was an overtime hero before. Game 1 against St. Louis in 2022 during their cup run. Off the face on one-timer is blocked. That was Maverick Bork, AHL MVP last year, and he's been one of the strong presences among the young core here. Necas from tight. Auditor turned that one away. Dallas is yet to fire a shot on goal in close to the opening 3 minutes as this puck exited out to the Dallas bench.
Man, oh man, a really auspicious start here for Dallas. Again, we said 0-5-2 going into it. Sometimes you like to say the regular season doesn't mean everything. You get the reset when you get in the postseason. But they had a lot of those games, Alec, in which the Stars gave up 40 to 50 shots on goal. They cannot afford to do that against the Avalanche.
No, they cannot, especially since they allowed a lot of chances since the Four Nations break.
Yeah.
3.79 goals against per 60 in each game. What the most and more playoff qualifying teams is not what they want to do. Dumped out with MacKinnon in pursuit. The Stars get in the way. Jamie Benn going to pass this one up, and Lehkonen will scoop it up. The Avalanche have not been the Stars in a playoff series since 2006. That year was the Andrew Brunette Series winner in overtime. It was the final years of the Joe Sakic era. Taking it back in is Eric Johnson, who's in the lineup tonight. Looking to go to the Juice-Kin, couldn't do so. Out inside the far half board, the Juice-Kin there, but too many Stars in the way. Dallas will move back to the far side. The Dada trying to find hits in front. Hits turned away by Blackwood. Rebound swept over to the near half boards. And back on the point. Shot is blocked in front by Nelson. And scooped back on by Lehkonen. On the far corner, this gets bounced up. And both teams fighting for this loose puck. It'll be Colorado escaping this one out through center. First to it is Harley. Go get the feed. With the Juice-Kin watching tight, going to Lehkonen. Lehkonen sets it up. It bounced off. And it goes towards the near corner. In pursuit now is Marchment. And Marchment takes down Makar. We stay 5-on-5. Now we get ahead of the air. And the officials immediately spot that penalty against Marchment.
Yeah, it's easily against Dallas. You see that in the left side corner as the players will come together. Again, Alec and I can mention to you, probably within the first 3 games of all these series, that's when the hits really start to ramp up. I do want to mention this. Rope Hintz, you see that burst of speed, Alec. That was pretty good there. Rope Hintz is a guy that can easily get you 30-plus goals. His defense is phenomenal. He is one of the very best players in the league.
He is. And it's good that he is finally getting his flowers and recognition that he deserves. Not just as a sidekick to Jason Robertson, but he can also hold his own on the top line, especially after the retirement of Joe Pavelski. And Pavelski on the top line really helps out a ton for Robertson and Hintz's growth to being a key franchise players.
And with Pavelski, I just want to make that note now that we don't get a chance to see him anymore. I'm going to miss all those hand-eye deflections.
Which is prompts the question, where the hand-eye deflections going to come from? Well, they may have found something in Tyler Seguin before he got injured. So Marchment's in the box, 2 minutes for tripping, and Colorado with a deadly power play. This is a man advantage you do not want to face, especially for the 5th-ranked penalty kill of Dallas. 82% in the regular season. Colorado is 9th in the regular season at 24.8. Early chance here for the Stars penalty kill here to get something here. Pass in front was knocked away. Excellent back check by the Avs to get this back. Drury bump this one up, and Makar will reset with Sam Steele on his face. Makar sets it up, and MacKinnon will twist and twirl, looking to use his speed. There he goes. Lightning McQueen on his way. No pun intended. MacKinnon tried to get it back for the Juice-Kin, and Makar, he gets tripped up again. Or is he? One time on the left side is kicked up by Ottinger and swept away. And yes, it is another tripping penalty, and Colorado will go on the 5-on-3.
Oh my, Alec, that is a nightmare for Dallas. Again, they can kill it. You mentioned it, a penalty kill well above 83%, 82%, but that is played his day trip against Cale Makar.
I think he put on the ice skates right on Wyatt Johnston to fake him out. I like to think about that. Johnson is upset on that one because he knew he tripped it when he was going for the puck. Just Makar with one move, and that was it. That Johnson, I don't know what he could do, but he just quit the skates.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. Cale Makar is this generation's Bobby Orr. It's a 5-on-3 advantage for Colorado, who already has a 5-win advantage on the shot board. You got MacKinnon, Necas, and Makar for the power play points. I mean, pick your poison.
2nd, 3rd, and 6th, respectively. Of course, it's a lethal power play, and Necas one of the best to do it dating back to his Carolina days. They learned so much under Rod Brind'Amour's system. Drop pass off towards the point where Makar is at. The Juice-Kin sets him in the slot. Pass across MacKinnon's one-timer is blocked by Lehkonen. He'll get it back. And Makar. Once again for MacKinnon. And the Mac attack still loose here. One-timer Makar. Walker to side. The rebound will not be sent home. MacKinnon. He'll reset. He'll walk in. Set one up. Loose at the far corner. Necas. Once again, it's Makar who walks the point. MacKinnon one more time. MacKinnon holds, twirls. Down low, through it. Tried to set it for Necas, but he missed the pass. MacKinnon keeping his one alive. Rips it! Oh, that was so close. And MacKinnon will get it once again. Pass to the slot was blocked off by Lindell, one of the best defensive defensemen on this Dallas team. And it's sent down the distance, and Mackenzie Blackwood will start it up. MacKinnon, what is he going to activate? He'll wait by the Colorado bench, and now he'll activate up to the far side. This tangled up, but able to save it is Necas, with Oscar Bach watching him. Dropping this one up over to Makar, who waits at the top right circle. Shot was stopped by Oettinger off the pad. Sent back from Makar, and then across. MacKinnon holds, waits, looks for options. Sent one down in front. Oettinger was right there, and it's cleared down the distance. One penalty is over. 35 more seconds of 5-on-4. Marchman's on the ice, and he's going to go for a change. So, tons of power play time here for the Habs. When are they going to make the move here? 23 on the man advantage. Up towards the slot. Now to the point. Second unit is out there. Around the right circle, it is Charlie Coyle. Coyle will send this out where Nelson had nowhere to go. Michael Granlund was there on his face. Nelson moves it up 3-on-2 as they enter. And it's Ross Colton, Stanley Cup champion with the Avalanche in 2021. Oh, and a tackle here by Cody Ceci. That's going to run out the second penalty. The Stars have done the job. Kill off the 5-on-3. We're back to even strength. The crowd's on their feet here at Big D. At the near half boards, we can't see anyone, as this is going to be iced again. Boy, can we not see any of the action. This Stars crowd is loud.
Oh, I'd have to believe it, Alec, after the monster 5-on-3. My only critique would be slightly this for Nathan MacKinnon. Maybe it's just at the beginning of the game when he's electing to pass, because a couple of those, he was stick handling through a phone booth, Alec, but you get a chance off of some of those slap passes for MacKinnon to elect to shoot instead, and maybe Colorado already scores one. But you see when he makes the adjustment, probably get a chance to get a couple more shots off, and they already look dangerous. But I'm just wondering if you're going to get to see that more going forward.
Valerie Nichushkin already had a chance on the power play. One of the passes went off his skate when he was trying to get the loose puck towards him. Manson fires, blocked, rebound was swept wide on the backhand. Skating this one away is Johnston, but able to hold it is Drury. And Oettinger gloves one down, a deep shot from Josh Manson, taking us to break on Colorado's 8th shot on goal to Dallas's 1.
Well, you can say Jake Oettinger certainly on his A-plus game, because as you said, he had the double deflection for Val Nichushkin. A lot of serious in-tight slap passes, good quick puck movement for Jared Bednar's squad. Dallas, they've survived, but they're going to have to start pushing play the other way at some point.
Yeah, they have to. Defensively, they've done the job. What's it going to take offensively? They've done this job last year against Colorado, in which they managed to take the series in 6 games with their offense and with exceptional goaltending in Game 6. Though Colorado, since then, they made some major adjustments, including huge upgrades on their goaltending.
Yeah, they did. Again, I can't believe that Colorado and Chris McFarland and Joe Sakic have been able to change out all those forwards. You get center depth, you get back-end defense alongside Ryan Lindgren. You move out from, you played 6 different goalies to now you have Mackenzie Blackwood and Scott Wedgwood. I don't really know how one team can change that much in order to make the postseason again, but they did, and Colorado looks scary.
Yes, they look like one of the most feared teams in the league as a result. And because of those major improvements, that's why they got back to Stanley Cup conversations when they were originally a wild card contender. They were out of a playoff spot at one point, and now they look like they're the favorites to come out of the West.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't even getting AHL level goaltending. It was about an 860, 870 in that mix in between Ananen, Gergiev, Trent Miner, Capo Kakkonen. That was looking real bleak, and they had to make some changes. But honestly, all the moves that they've made, Alec, they really didn't give up a whole heck of a lot to do so either.
And no, that's why they had to make the trades for Blackwood and Wedgwood. And not only has the goaltending improved, penalty killing has improved as a result.
Yeah, it has. And again, we're getting a sideline report. It's just good to see Gabe Landeskog on the side of the warning skate. I cannot wait till we see him in an Avs uniform.
Possibly Game 3 at the earliest. Probably they're saving him for when he returns on home ice, or that he gets a warm welcome back. Colorado won the regular season series 2-1. All 3 of those wins between Colorado and Dallas, we're back underway. All three of those wins have come at home ice. The most recent one, a 4-3 overtime win, and granted it's only given a start against Colorado, so an early shot was stopped by Blackwood. Team Van keeps it alive. Here's a deep shot, turned away by Blackwood again. Johnson kept this one down low. Here is Ben, who sends this back to the point. CC fires one from deep. Blackwood's got it, and he'll cover.
Couple of chances there from distance, reaching off the backboards there for Blackwood. He'll hold on to it, as you said. Are you somewhat worried about Mackenzie Blackwood since the performance of the Four Nations when he's just under a sub 900, or you think that things will work out?
Things may work out in the future. He'll get back to his comfort zone, and while he said had some off nights, I think he'll do the job later down. Think of it as Darcy Kemper's year in Colorado all over again, but you get a younger version of Kemper. Back behind Blackwood's crease. Oh, someone goes up. That's a penalty. That's our third tripping penalty of this game, and this time it's the Avalanche that are penalized.
I mean, all these ones are pretty blatant, Alec. Again, as we go forward in the Stanley Cup playoffs, maybe some of these will not be called, but I mean, they're right in front of the refs. They're blatant trips. They've got to be called, and now we'll see what the Stars can do as Josh Manson sits in the box.
It's one of the premier defensive defensemen at the time that he was acquired, and Manson was not too pleased when he was held down. I thought the penalty was going to be tripping. However, he's getting called for holding when he was called off on the hold for Thomas Harley on the scramble. That looked to be either or. But watch for Mikko Rantanen.
That's something that we got to watch for. He's going to be the storyline, number 96 now, member of Big D.
Now on the victory green, not the burgundy and blue. Colorado's penalty kill 12 in the league, 79.8%. Dallas' power play 17, 22%. Then you can expect it to get better with Rantanen and when Heiskanen comes back. But what would they do about Robertson? They're staying in front, and that was fired wide, and it exits out. Colorado would take their sweet time with this, and then just backhand this towards the near side to kill some more time up. 33 seconds are gone. 125 left now as Harley sends it up for hits. To Duchesne, quietly been the best point producer on Dallas this season, former Colorado Avalanche player. And here's Johnston, stopped by Blackwood as he sent this to the far corner. Back behind that is Rantanen, who finds Duchesne. To Harley. Harley has no lane, now has one in Duchesne. Duchesne goes down low for Rantanen, who surveys. Rantanen comes to the front, backhander, saves the rebound and swept away as well. And this backhander was just played up. Harley able to grab it over at center ice. Setting it back in front for Johnson. Now hits again. Hits. Pass is broken up. And the Avs will get this one down. They'll decide not to go for the 2-on-2. Both teams will get to their second units now. Andre points this one out for Lindell, who's functioned primarily as a defensive defenseman, but because of the absence of Heiskanen, he has to assume power play quarterbacking duties. Granlund sends it for Ben. Ben wants it by the return seam pass. Can't find an option, and this pass goes way out through the Stars' end. Or Lindell has to start one more time. 10:33 to go here in the first period, and no scoring so far to speak of. Sent in by Tyler Seguin, and through the near side as Ben's trying to get towards the puck. Granlund bluffs it down towards Ben. Backhander, one-timer, kicked out. Granlund, Ben, another save. Blackwood's down and he covers.
Well, that just answered my own question in terms of your fantastic play-by-play, Alec. Mackenzie Blackwood all over the rebounds, made that look easy.
Yeah, he did. And he was getting pounded all over the ice, being attacked by 1, 2, 3 stars. There's Seguin, Ben, Granlund. They were all over that. Mason Marchman, who served the penalty earlier, he was turned away previously. And Matt Duchesne, who had his best chance, he might have rang off the pipe after it caught a piece of Blackwood.
Yeah, and again, you talk about in the mix of Robertson, Heiskanen, and Ottinger for Jim Nill, all that draft, as you talk about, maybe Matt Duchesne off the buyout was one of the best moves they ever made. My goodness.
Power play's over, and what an excellent penalty kill has been for Mackenzie Blackwood and the Avalanche as we reach the halfway mark of the first period. Oh, how goes one, the Avalanche? We stay 5-on-5 for the moment as Martin Necas tries to get a hold of it. Dallas will still carry this one up forward. Second line still out there as Marchman goes towards the far side. Seguin spun around. Gerard tried to retrieve it. The puck comes out in front of Blackwood, and the Avs will take this one back. MacKinnon. What risk of dream will he make? Here's Makar. Deep shot. Stopped by Ottinger. Loose in front. And both teams fighting for the loose puck. And Oninger grabs a hold of that. Lehkonen with another chance, but both goaltenders have been stellar. It's their time to shine. 9-8 as the shots, no goals.
Yeah, and as we go to break, you said it right. Again, the shots on goal were about 8-2 Colorado. Well, about 5 saves in a row for Mackenzie Blackwood after that stellar sequence, which takes us to break. And you're absolutely right. The goaltenders have been on their A-plus game. This has been a fantastic first 10 minutes.
It has. Everything is played directly onto how the goaltenders are envisioning. So, and they want this to be as low of a goal scoring game as possible, both goaltenders. And if I were one of them, I would not want this to be a 4-4 sort of game. That would be a nightmare for the goalies.
Yes, it would. But, Alec, we can say this as plain as day. It absolutely could be one of these types of games between these two teams at any given point because their offenses are just that good.
Yes, high-powered offenses with all the firepower in the world that they can consist of. Of course, you have Rantanen as the headliner and Dallas with Robertson out. Hintz, Johnson, those names strike out. Duchesne, Sagan, who just came back. Sagan was on pace for having his best points production season since 2019.
Yeah, Sagan, again, when you look at it, he's only played 19 games. He had 20 points, was a plus 14. So the limited games he played, he was absolutely phenomenal. And again, for Mikko Rantanen, just checking in, he's still the Avs' third leading goal scorer through the regular season in his 49 games with 64 points and a plus 12. With Dallas in 19 games, he's got 18 points, about a point per game and a plus 6. So that'll be something that we watch. But I absolutely will agree with Alec on this. In the mix of players who I think can make an impact, we know Matt Duchene's going to be there. Tyler Sagan, honestly, Alec, this might be the best thing for him is he's healthy, and I think he's going to be ready to make an impact.
Peter DeBoer has 2 trips to the Stanley Cup final, 2012 with the Devils, 2016 with the Sharks. He wants to make sure that this year will be the year with the Stars pull through and make it his first Stanley Cup final appearance. Underway here, and he has yet to win a Stanley Cup in his career, but he wants to make the most of this opportunity with the best team that he's ever had on paper here in Dallas after being 6 years removed from what was last chance for the San Jose Sharks. Necas, tons of speed through the far side as he leads the way. Necas tries to go cross ice. He finds MacKinnon just in the nick of time. And around back for Necas. Necas through on check as he directs it over to the left wing. Deep shot was covered up by Oettinger. No deflection.
Absolutely not. Again, they moved the shot board around. It's back to 8-8 as we're within 9 minutes left to go as we see these hosts of chances. It started on the 5-on-3 for the Avalanche. Nathan MacKinnon, as I mentioned, elected to pass a couple of these. Velnichuk had the deflection, but in the mix of for Dallas coming the other way, Mackenzie Blackwood, about 3 saves point blank. The 5-on-3 penalty kill is the one that looms the biggest.
Sam still losing a draw as this is set up for Brock Nelson after this faceoff went from him. Ryan Lindbergh from deep. That missed it entirely. But just keep it in. That might be another tripping penalty. No, they're not going to call it a tripping penalty. They're just going to say he fell down on his own. So we stay 5-on-5 for the moment. I thought that there was going to be a hand up in the air, but there's not. Several stickless as the Avalanche get through. Shot in front. Oettinger, no problem there.
He's tracking the puck really well, Alec, because now we're getting some pushing and shoving out in front.
Yeah, Labushkin and Nelson being among the 2 key bases. Shandor Alfonso, 52, among the linesmen, had to separate the both of them.
I love the pace of this game so far. We'll see if it ends up sticking out between these two. It is just game 1, so chances are that's going to happen. I'm also looking at Brock Nelson and Charlie Coyle, that added center depth down the middle, because Casey Middlestat just did not work out. But Colorado has made a lot of changes. You got that type of center depth. That matters a lot as we get Velnichuk get in the seat.
And Jack Drury, too, don't forget about him. He's been valuable in the faceoff circle and on defense. His faceoff wins have been crucial on the 4th line because they need an upgrade on that. Parker Kelly, for as solid as he is for his defense, he's better suited on the wing for Colorado.
He's got a lot of speed, and you can mix that in with Ross Colton, Kiviranta, a lot of other guys in the 4th line that can score a little bit, too.
Kiviranta as well. He's out there onto the ice after Erik Johnson's shot was blocked. Mikko Rantanen, he gets shut down by his old friend Erik Johnson. He was the one who got the first handout from Gabriel Landeskog in the Stanley Cup here for Colorado. His shot was wide up. Blackwood, he is in a bit of trouble as Johnson tried to take it away, but a perfect stick check there for the Avs to get this one down for the ice. Is this going to be iced? They'll say yes as Kyle Flemington tracked that perfectly.
It was a bouncing puck all the way around. Again, the DraftKings odds say minus 145 for Colorado to score the first goal. It's a little bit of a surprise that they're that much of a favorite against Dallas.
You don't think that the odds are going to be much closer?
Yes.
Then again, for Peter DeBoer, I don't know what the problem is for him not resting his players. But the thing is, if you already clinched up your playoff spot, if you already clinched a playoff berth, you'll be fighting for playoff position. If you're locked into a playoff spot, there's no need to play your starters down for the stretch. And it costs them Jason Robertson. Body Grisham checks his Colton. Blue stick on the ice, that was one of the stars. Bouncing puck as they're able to exit for the zone. Off of the Avs bench, Sagan sends this one in. And now Marchment will send it for Duchesne. Out in front, this couldn't make it all the way through. Sagan got dumped at the near corner, and now here's MacKinnon versus P trying to split through Harley. Necas there to help him out through the stick check. Necas sent this one up onto the near half board for the cross ice pass, and Lehkonen wanted to go back for MacKinnon. Several stick taps there. Necas got turned away. Here's Marchment, who finds Duchesne immediately. After Duchesne stops at the right circle, fires, and that one forced up and out onto the mesh.
And I think you said it right, Alec, because even with the 0-7-2, yeah, you want to make things look right and feel good, or 0-5-2, excuse me, in the last 7, but you already have everything locked up, as you said. You don't want to get those injuries. That's what happened to Robertson, but it's a grueling 82-game season in the NHL. I would always elect for the extra rest, especially when you already know you're playing Colorado.
And that's what Jared Bednar did. He played the smart thing and rested his starters when the playoff spot was already clinched. Even for using a league-high 49 players on for the season. That number could be 50 by game 3. Here is, I believe it's Josh Manson as he sends this towards the far corners. Parker Kelly was there trying to shove away Asa Liddell, but the Stars get it out. Granlund waits with the puck. Oh my, he gets ran right into, right between the benches. And now Colorado will go back for the other way. Kelly couldn't send this one up. Manson could, and Kelly has it again. Sends it to the near corner. Cale uses that extra energy to go after Labuschagne, who sends it away, though. And for the near half boards, both teams battling for this loose puck on this opportunity. Logan O'Connor sends this one around. Auditor out of his net for a moment, but quickly gets back onto it. Granlund sends this one back, and now Lindell will restart. 6:42 to go in the opening frame of this first round series. And a heavy hit towards the near side boards as Colorado goes back the other way, sends this towards the near corner, and bumped up for the far half boards as both teams once again pursue the puck. On for Buck. Oscar Buck being pursued by Brock Nelson. Dumps this one off over to, I believe it's Evgeny Dadonov, who airmailed this shot. And Cody Ceci able to keep this one in. Dadonov wraparound, turned away by Blackwood. One of the most dangerous chances for the Stars there. Dadonov wanting to try again. He went a stick lifted, and he has to move this one up. With numbers, decide to dump this one in off of Bowery and Chushkin. And for the near half boards, the Chushkin aggressively going after the puck. The loose puck is still there. Upward grasp, Makar on the keep. Dallas gets this one for the far side. And the Stars dump this one in, go for line changes. Eric Johnson told Danny Briere ahead of the trade deadline that the only team I want to go to is Colorado ahead of the trade deadline. This is basically his home, and now he's back in a leadership role again. MacKinnon closing in. He fired this one wide. Blue stick is on the ice. Quickly gets picked back up. No, it isn't, though. And that stick may be broken. Dallas sends this over to the near half boards. And a dispossessed MacKinnon ran into by Liam Bishop. Tall, towering presence on the third pairing. As this is batted up and out of play from center ice, which will stop the actual 5-18.
Man, oh man, pace has been phenomenal here at American Airlines Center. Two teams that are given as good as they get. I will say, I think the back half of this period, especially as you could take a look at the Dono's wrap as we go to break, back half of this period has been much better for the Stars.
Yes, it has. The first period was all Avalanche, but the Stars have turned things on from the halfway mark of that first period onwards. Well, especially from that power play. That's when they started to build the momentum. Then it became more even-steven, but the play has been mostly controlled by Dallas, defensively and offensively, even though Colorado still leading the shot board.
So as it is, it's Mason Marchment and Wyatt Johnston with the penalties, about 36 seconds apart, both for a trip against Cale Makar, who's already drawn 2, and Josh Manson a hold against Matt Duchesne. Jake Ottinger, 10 of 10. Mackenzie Blackwood, 7 of 7. and all of these chances have been premium saves for both netliners.
It's been the goaltenders that stole the show. Though last year's game one it featured a comeback that Colorado, they were trailing 3-0. They won 4-3 off Miles Wood, who is a healthy scratch, by the way, because his numbers have not been up to par with the rest of the team this season. Though he's been solid his first year, you remember, he's in the middle of a 6-year deal. And the fact that he's having a down year isn't doing much favors for him.
No, there's going to be a lot to figure about going forward, but they still have a really good roster. You expect certain players to pick it up, and I imagine, Alec, that'd be one that they want to get jump-started, especially next year, if not now.
Getting him back up to the third line where he's thrived with with what as fans last season called the Roaring Twenties line between him, Ross Colton, and Logan O'Connor. That's a creative name of a third line because all those jersey numbers are in the 20s range.
Yeah, pretty good. And they got some good young players as well on the Dallas side in the mix. A good slew of players. St. Louis can say the same thing. I know they're going to have their hands full there with the Jets, but as we said, that series is long from over.
And as it's iced right off the face-off, this will be an offensive zone face-off. And you mentioned about St. Louis's youth movement. You mentioned guys like Zach Bolduc and Jimmy Snuggerud are coming into their own in St. Louis. Snuggerud just got his first career NHL goal, and Bolduc is making an impact in his first professional season.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's already happening so quickly for those two. Jake Neighbors, another one of the ones that you mentioned, that's part of that. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do in the future.
Yeah, that's not to mention about the youth movement and all around for St. Louis. Yes, you mentioned that. And even though they just traded away Scott Perunovich, they were dealing with a logjam on defense. Off the face-off is Fischel, one of the young players on Dallas, who sends it over to Matt Dumba, who just keeps this one inside, but Colorado plays this one out. Puck is loose over towards the penalty box doors as Coyle was fighting for the puck. Fischel keeps it up front. And over the near side, Granlund sends it in. Ben is in pursuit. This might have exited out of play with 4:52.
As we still sit scoreless, waiting patiently to see who's going to get the first goal. If not for both of these goaltenders, things can be a lot different. They're showing Mikko Rantanen getting a run into his former teammate, Sam Girard, and getting another bump there for Cale Makar. That's a good camera shot.
Arby's, we have the beef. I know that's not exactly the motto of Arby's, but it turns out Rantanen does have some beef with his former teammates. Marchment went down, gets back up onto his feet from his knees. And at the far half boards, the Stars wanting to keep this one inside from the far corner. Colorado takes control from their end, and they move it up 2-on-2, now 3-on-2. Shot from the left circle, then it hit the net, and it's picked up by Sagan, who will lead the counterattack. Sagan is bumped, ridden up the puck at the right point, and the Stars do get it out with 4:21 left. Backing up is Labushkin, who sent this one deep, bounced up. Mason Marchment couldn't get a handle off the puck. Now he could, but he will see this go back the other way with Natushkin leading the counter. Natushkin, right around the bottom of the right circle, now goes back to the top. Soft shot. I believe that was Eric Johnson. 37 years old, looking for a second Stanley Cup with this Avalanche team. 4 minutes to go, and his feet up front for Johnson. This is sent deep off a stick. Lindell the first there. So is Cece, and is bounced up and out to center ice. Kelly sends this towards the far half boards. One of the Stars slowed it down. Lindell passes not cut up, as is Granlund, who leads the way for hits. Hits moving in with tons of speed. From the right circle to Donna. Oh my, the stick came flying as it exploded on the hit. Through the far half boards. Colorado under control. The Avalanche player got a new stick. The one who had it broken on the explosive hit. Right up back as Blackwood plays it out. Behind the crease as the Stars are chasing. 3:20 left. Through the penalty box doors, it's O'Connor. Couldn't track it. And down through the middle. 1-on-1. Partial break. They'll stop at the left circle. Fans on their feet to wondering if there's going to be a breakaway for a Maverick Port. It wasn't. Sam Steele, Oscar Bach both there. Bach takes it away, controlling on his back end. Bach goes down low, right behind, and the crease on the trapezoid. Fans won a penalty. We stay 5-on-5 as there was a shove towards the force. Not excessive force for it to be 40. Toews there. MacKinnon as well. Steele, hounded by MacKinnon, and he has her all over this puck. Neither side has a clear grasp of this puck, and finally it came loose onto the opposite corner. Toews wanted to get this one away, but Makar does so on the backhand, but it's just held in the right point. Held inside by Dallas, And right behind the net, the Avs take it up as both teams go for changes. Cale Makar, best defenseman in the NHL, and the Bobby Orr comparisons are legit. MacKinnon goes for a change, and over the middle, here's Coyle. Charlie Coyle, the Weymouth, Massachusetts native, fires this one wide, and over the far half boards, Jamie Benn gets dispossessed, and this is held inside over to the far corner. CC tried to take it away, couldn't do so, as it's just held out at the left point by Gerard. And right around the far half boards, a half spin, one timer, left circle, blocked, kept inside by Madison, and starting around is Coyle, trying to pay for Colton, who can't do it. Less than 2 to go, as Dallas gets this one down, just enough to have it not be iced. Madison restarts for Colorado. He is hurried up by Dallas, with Valley Nichushkin back onto the ice. Tyler Seguin also there, and from the left point, to decide where the exploded stick was. Nichushkin, on his backhand, sends it back to the left point. Gerard waits, fires his one under the save, and he leaves no rebound.
Second effort there off the leapfrog. Jake Ottinger's got it as they get some traffic on in front with Harley.
Samuel Gerard with a deep shot. He wanted to get that traffic out front to lace one out to get a deflection. Unfortunately, no deflection. And of course, Nichushkin, as you mentioned, is known for that net front presence. That's what he wants to do about deflecting a puck, but he was boxed out. We have 2 broken sticks on the ice.
Yeah, we do. There was a lot of work as you've gone through the play-by-play there behind Mackenzie Blackwood. Colorado had it in their zone for a while, but unfortunately for the Stars, it was just jammed up into the left boards.
And the linesman, Kyle Flemington, had a lot of responsibility picking up the broken sticks, and he discards them now. This face-off won by the Avs. Sam Gerard fires one, stopped by Ottinger, and this will be scooped up at the near half boards. It is Bork. This bounced off of Gerard, who'll scoop it at the far corner. Gerard looks to go to Drury at the near half board, who drops it off. And for the far half board side, taking it is Colorado. When the Stars goes down, run attempt. Ottinger goes that one up. Nelson kept it in. We're closing into the final minute of the first period. Far corners, this is scooped around over to Nichushkin. Nichushkin backhands one, but gave it away to his former teammate, Seguin. Brianto, they hurry. Duchesne takes it slowly. Duchesne through the far side of the corner. Duchesne goes through Gretzky's office. Duchesne, who several checks, it came loose. The Avs sweep it away. Held at the left point, as is Duchesne again. Duchesne going down low for Seguin. And now once again, the Stars looking. They come out towards the left circle. Turnaround shot for Granlund, blocked. That was Nelson who fended that one up. Granlund out inside by Cece with 30 seconds to go. And the Stars will go back on defense. Going back around for Makar is Toews. Jared Bednar made some adjustments late in the game to have Toews paired with Gerard. It was 17 seconds to go. The Avalanche looking to go for one last go-round. Lindgren, pass blocked off, but the Avs do keep a smidge of it. It exits out of play with 12.1.
The one thing I would watch out for, and I know it's probably more lucky than anything else, but Joel Kiviranta, and they had another chance for Brock Nelson, seemingly toward the right side boards out. Like they just beat 3 Stars 2 different times in this period to create chances in front of the net.
At 2 different times, and they were beat out. But there's been no goal scoring here. Brutus tie it. It doesn't appear we'll get a goal here unless the Stars, no, they will not. Is it the late offside? And actually, it's going to be an icy with 5 seconds.
Yes, it is. And I might give the Colorado Avalanche a quick opportunity to set something up with 5 seconds if they can win this draw. Cody Cece was wiping up the visor. Kind of wonder if he got hit up in the eye.
Might be, but who knows? Must be there's something up into the visor that caught him by surprise. Shots 11-8 Avalanche, and we have yet to see the first goal. On the right circle is MacKinnon, who wins the faceoff, goes back for Makar, makes a shot, now drives one, that was deflected, and blocked in front. No scoring after one. As the green light's on, shots are 11-8 Colorado.
Yeah, and as you said, you had those 2 chances of lightning opportunity. 5-on-3 power play, a fantastic kill for the victory. Green, about 5 shots, point blank. Ottinger able to stand tall to all of those, and then the Seguin combination. You had that mix about 4 or 5 shots, a wraparound for Dodonov, and that was pretty much it. You had a splash of about a minute 20 between both where all the chances happened all at once, but as it sits, nothing after the first 20.
It's been tight checking for both of these teams, the way that they like it, the type of style that's built for playoffs. And it's been the goalies that have been stealing the show here in game 1. It wasn't like this last year when in the first period, in which it's been Dallas's attack
And I think I'd have to say it like this, as I mentioned a little bit in the open with you. I think that's beneficial to Dallas to see Jake Ottinger play so well because, again, I'm not trying to throw him under the bus. I think he's a fantastic netminder. But he has to deal with the same sort of narratives that Connor Hellebuyck has to deal with from time to time. And sometimes it stinks, but you're the one that has to kind of bail out your team as the last line of defense. And they expect goaltenders like Jake Ottinger and Connor Hellebuyck to have to steal the show if their team doesn't play well.
And so far, Hellebuyck, even though he has the 3 goals against on 16 shots, the team in front of him did the job. Ottinger, at the other hand, he's bailing out his team out of certain chances. Dallas looked better in that second half of the first period. But Colorado, they were flying all over the ice in the first half of the first period. So much so that they gave Dallas heart attacks. The power play is the big reason why.
Yes, it was. And again, that 5-on-3 is something that Dallas saw their life flash before their eyes. They cannot afford to have too many more of those. Again, you did mention a tripping call that probably should have been called on the other side for the Avalanche, but they already had 2 chances. Probably look forward as this game goes along that these chances get even up for both teams in terms of power plays. And then we'll see as it gets a little bit longer in this series whether or not some of the calls actually get made.
Yes. And usually in overtime, the officials like to swallow up the whistles and not call penalties. But on the rare instance in which a penalty is called, that could normally spell doom for a team. If you want to know how the 08 San Jose Sharks season ended, it was on a power play goal by Brendan Morrow.
Yep, again, that happened. You could ask not too long ago for the San Jose Sharks in that nightmare scenario for the Vegas Golden Knights when they gave the Sharks too many power plays and the Sharks ended up winning the game anyway.
I mean, it's not normal that you see 4 goals on a 5-minute major power play in the span of 4 minutes in a game 7.
Something that we will never forget, as far as I know, Vegas will never forget. At least for them, they do have a cup to their name, but Vegas has already had to face a lot of heartbreaks, and they're really just one of the new teams joining into the league. I was looking across a little bit in the NBA scoreboard because the NBA playoffs did start today. The Nuggets and the Clippers, that was a nail biter. Nuggets actually win that one 112-110 in overtime, but the Pacers rout the Bucks 117-98.
Oh, so as we go through those 2 games, did anyone expect Russell Westbrook to be coming out with a clutch defensive stop? Not a lot of people were expecting that. But let's get one thing out of the way front and clear. If anyone is asking why Russell Westbrook gets key minutes in the clutch, these moments are why. His energy is a key reason for why the Nuggets are still playoff contenders. And any team would love to take on his services. He's a high energy player who has a lot of stamina to his game. 15 points and he has 8 rebounds, which is the most on the it's tied for the most on the team, not named Nikola Jokic or Jamal Murray. That energy is crucial.
And I'm looking at this again for the new head coaching staff and alongside for the Nuggets. But I know Jalen Pickett played 5 minutes, but essentially, Alec, we can go through this box score. 7 players pretty much only suited up for the Denver Nuggets. I can't imagine that's going to do well for them moving forward because, look, you got Jamal Murray played 48 minutes, Jokic 46, Gordon 46. These guys are logging a lot of time already.
This basically is the definition of a top-heavy team. If you're not using a lot of your bench guys, that is the definition of being top-heavy. You're trusting Russell Westbrook the most coming off your bench. He's playing 34 minutes. Peyton Watson, 14 minutes, and he's been playing a crucial role off the bench. Outside that, Denver's bench has been significantly reduced come playoff time. That was the way when they won the championship in 2023. A significantly reduced bench with just 3 guys coming off the bench. Bruce Brown, Christian Braun, and Jeff Green. Braun's now a full-time starter. Brown has been holding on to a bench role and has been a solid bench player on that regard. But this may be the consequence of paying your paying your third and fourth options a handsome sum of money.
Sure.
But at their best, they're a third and fourth option.
Yeah, you probably said it right, Alec, now that I think about it. But again, I'm just not used to seeing that many minutes spread out that quickly already, considering we just started the playoffs. I would monitor that going forward. Pascal Siakam had 25 points, was a plus 28 for the Pacers. able to outduel Giannis Antetokounmpo, who had 36. Really, the other leading scorer as far as a starter was Brook Lopez with 9. He had 14 off the bench for Gary Trent Jr., but that's not enough. And again, they cannot get Damian Lillard back soon enough.
This is why Milwaukee needs Damian Lillard. Even for the blood clotting issues they had recently, his secondary scoring was sorely missed in game one against Indiana. I thought that Milwaukee was going to have a chance because of Giannis, but they needed Dame time.
Yeah.
And his absence was missed a lot. When you have Ryan Rollins filling it up, and you get the absence of Dame, I don't think that's going to work out. And Kyle Kuzma, as much as I don't like blaming people for losses, oh my goodness, it would have been nice to get a rebound or an assist or a point, because this man, he just went 0 for 5 in a playoff game. This is not what you want for a big trade deadline acquisition from Washington. Yikes.
Alec, I'm going to be kind when I say this. You and I could do better. He played 22 minutes, 0 for 5, 0 for 2, and was a minus 24. And as you said, bageled on the stat line.
Oh my goodness. Stop making me hungry, John.
That's not good. As far as the back half, again, unfortunately for myself, I have to report, but I will say this alongside Alec. I don't think he's going to think that I'm crazy. I do think the Pistons can win this series against the Knicks. I did see that Isaiah Stewart did go out. That's going to be unfortunate because they're going to need his rebounding and stuff off the bench. But it was a 21-0 run in the fourth quarter for the Knicks. Pistons held very strong. They had an 8-point lead going into the fourth, but they were outscored 40-21 on the back end as the Knicks win 123-112. OG Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns, and Jalen Brunson went off. Jalen Brunson had 34, and Towns and Anunoby with 23. But I will say this, Cade able to figure it out down the stretch. Malik Beasley, 20 points off the bench. But Tobias Harris was the only reason why the Pistons had a chance. He had 25 in this game.
And even though his point production was down, he's not expected to be the focal point of this Pistons team. But he played a part in this game. 25 points, and Kate Cunningham dishing out 12 assists, which helped the Pistons keep in this game up until that 21-0 run from the Knicks, which was basically ouch.
Yeah.
You do not want that to happen to any team. You do not want to have to face that type of run if you're a team that's trying to defend that. Yeesh. And Jalen Brunson, of course, he's making his case for why he should win Clutch Player of the Year. 34 points, and with crucial runs that sparked the Knicks up top. 8 dimes to his credit, too. And Towns with 11 rebounds, 4 steals, 2 blocks. And Anunoby, 5 steals of his own with 2 blocks.
Yeah. It's a really good team with the New York Knicks, top 10 defensively, can score 20 points, can shut you down. It will be tough for the Pistons. Pistons did go 3-1 in the regular season series against the Knicks. Would I be disappointed if the Pistons lost? No, I would not. But I'm just happy to see them back in the postseason after winning, 18 games last year, finishing 44-38. That's why I think Jimmy Bickerstaff should get some votes for Coach of the Year. I don't think he'll win it, but I'd like to see him get some votes. And I do think the Pistons will be in a good standing moving forward. But yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. I'm hoping maybe the Pistons, Alec, can win maybe a game or two.
Yeah, this outside the Clippers Nuggets series are my 2 series to watch. I would also watch for that Rockets Warriors series. It gets started tomorrow. Yeah. I would love to cover game 1 of that series because, of course, it is my guys up against the boogeyman that's haunted us in the last decade. But speaking of former Rockets, I'll give a round of applause to James Harden, who had finished and who, despite the loss for the Clippers, finished with 32 points, 6 rebounds, and 11 assists. And one can make the argument that he was the Clippers' best player this season, even through the absence of Kawhi Leonard. And with Kawhi's comeback, where his defense is much needed, I feel Harden was the player that kept this ship afloat.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to see him play at his vintage level. I did want to ask you this selfishly in between the Warriors and Rockets. Again, that's 9:30 Eastern time in the mix of TNT and Max and all that tomorrow. But the Rockets, I mean, that's about as difficult as a matchup you can get, considering that they were the 2nd seed. To get that trade from Jimmy Butler, and it feels like the Warriors would never lose again. How do you see that series going?
I think it's going to full 7 games. The Rockets are not going down without a fight against their hated rivals that they've been consistently owned by for years upon years of knowing them. 4 playoff series losses, that trauma doesn't go away in an instant. But Ime Udoka's voice, but Ime Udoka knows how to coach this young team up to playoff status. So Fred VanVleet said, does this team know any trauma of years past? He said, no, because this is a young team. They're not familiar with playoff trauma from years past. Because this is a team that hasn't faced the Warriors in a playoff series. Steph Curry has, though. Dylan Brooks, on the contrary, has. But that was back with the Memphis Grizzlies in that 6-game series in which Brooks was labeled as the fall guy for Memphis' shortcomings. And it's been downhill for the Grizzlies ever since. Right. The Rockets, on the other hand, have been on the rise as a young team with a purpose, with a defensive tenacity, and a hunger that's lit onto their eyes. The fact that Houston beat the Warriors twice, the Thunder twice, and the Cavaliers twice, all in this same season, that's no accident.
No,
that is by design. And when people whining about, oh, this team is too tough for us, that's the purpose of Rockets basketball. This is a mentally tough team that is battle-tested for any moment. And if they can beat the Warriors in the play-in tournament, there is the strong likelihood that the Rockets can beat the Warriors in the full 7 games.
I think that's beautifully said, Alec. I'm glad that you mentioned it that way. Again, I enjoyed it covering the play-in tournament or the in-season tournament alongside with you with the Rockets and watching this young team grow.
I know what I meant to say.
Yeah. No, I got you. And that's exactly where I think. And I was watching Amin Thompson. I'm looking, who is this guy? And I know in the mix of Oster because I see it between the Pistons, but both of them are incredibly talented. Amin was ridiculous in that tournament. And that Rockets team is very young. I like Jalen Green, Jabari Parker, all those other guys are very, very, Jabari Smith, I should say, as everything else has been pretty good for this team. And Ime Udoka, that was the right coach for them to get. It's kind of the same mark that we always say in between either Jim Montgomery or Bruce Cassidy now for Vegas. Once they become available, it didn't take the Rockets long to go ahead and take Ime Udoka.
Yeah, it didn't take that long. Basically, you said it perfectly about the Jim Montgomery part. Ime Udoka is basically the basketball version of Jim Montgomery, in which he was cast out after one season, after a successful run with his first team in Boston, and now he finds instant success on his next team, and he's having that successful run. He may have this off-the-court controversy, but that's been put onto the wayside now.
Yeah.
He's focused on basketball now, and he's been delivering lights-out defense for this team. People may say, oh, this Rockets team is not ready. They're a fake 2-seed. I'm tired of the disrespect. I think the Rockets are going to send a message to the NBA. We are ready. And even for Amin Thompson guarding Steph Curry, that's one matchup that I would love to watch. The other matchup is who's going to guard Jimmy Butler? Here's my answer. Tari Eason, who's our second best defender right after Amin Thompson.
Yeah, there's a lot to get to, a lot to dive in. I hope you get a chance to cover that. As I'm going to sit essentially for the house sitting for about 10 days or so, that's going to put me between, I believe, Game 6 and Game 7 of the NHL side, maybe toward that way for the NBA. But when I do get back, I'll be involved with you again and try to get some of these games in and cover that. I do want to swing really quickly over to the NHL side because you get a chance to look at one of the other teams that you know very well. And this is one of those, maybe you have a different opinion than I do, but in between the Devils and the Hurricanes, I know you're rooting there for the Hurricanes, but I just don't see how the Devils find a way to last in a 7-game series against the Hurricanes, considering how hurt they are in terms of Siegenthaler, Hamilton, Hughes. The goaltending of Jacob Markstrom has been about .860 since the tournament from the Four Nations, and I think the Devils are going to be in a world of hurt against the Canes.
Oh, my goodness. Even as a Hurricanes fan, they're my second team. I just feel awful for the Devils. I hate seeing a season go out like this. It was a promising start. Everything looked right for them. They were doing everything correct. Special teams were right up where they want. The power play's electric. Penalty kill is right up there as well. It looks like the goaltending issues have been solved. And then Jacob Markstrom goes down.
Yeah.
If that's not enough for a bad injury luck, Jack Hughes and Dougie Hamilton go down one day after another. Jonas Siegenthaler already went down, and he could come back if the series goes deep enough. But Markstrom has been playing like he's still visibly injured. His save percentage is not back to what it was before the injury. It's just that awful. And if the Devils foul out in 4 or 5 games, I wouldn't blame one of those players any bit. There's just nothing that they can do. 5-on-5 has been bad ever since Jack Hughes went down. And even though Nico Hischier has been a stellar piece, so is Jesper Bratt.
Yeah.
What Sheldon Keefe needs to do is continue rolling out the Hischier line so that they don't get buried at 5-on-5. But what else is there? Depth scoring needs to come up. And beyond the second line, it's pretty much bare bones. Dawson Mercer and Andre Palat have been rather disappointing this year. And there's not a lot that encourages me into thinking that New Jersey's going to take this series. Just a sad way to go out.
Yeah, and I was thinking in terms of Andre Palat, I was initially excited when the Devils signed him over there from the Lightning, thinking he was going to be a big piece, but that really hasn't worked out. And I know that this is just regular season splits, but I do just want to make this note of it because Alec already diagnosed everything beautifully. But 23-16-2 were the Devils on the road, but at home they're 19-17-5, so that's quite a split. Carolina Hurricanes 31-9-1, unbeatable at Raleigh, but they are not very good on the road. 16-21-4.
This exemplifies Rod Brind'Amour's tenure. Great at home, but on the road is a much different story. The same applies for playoffs, in which they've been bad on the road, but they've been excellent at home ice. Home ice advantage is a huge benefactor, and it's good that Carolina starts out at home in this series because when they go on the road, it's a world of hurt for the Hurricanes in the playoffs.
So I'm going to get set here to take the second period once we get underway, and then we get to the intermission. I do want to ask Alec, as we break down some of these other series, the TV schedule is a little bit wonky. We'll break that down for you as well. But one of the main lead-ins we'll have in the second intermission is the Sens and the Maple Leafs. When that one gets going tomorrow about 7 Eastern on ESPN2, that one's going to be absolutely insane. We'll break that down a little bit and give our thoughts. And then I might also share one of the other series that I think is going to be short. But as we're looking forward to it, it's the American Airlines Center instead of the second period. John here with you alongside Alec Nava. Gracious to join me here for this game one because I'm going to be away for quite a while after that, but I will be listening in. So I won't be able to join as far as Alec, as far as doing the play-by-play for other stuff, but you might see me listening in throughout the week because I'll be jonesing for some hockey. As this one will be sent back amongst the end boards now. Picked up for Artturi, Lehkonen for a moment. Here's Marty Necas, former Kane, as this shot hit the left side of the glass. Devon Toews and a battle away from the blue line side as Cody Ceci off the step out. This will be left for Lehkonen for a moment and the race back down to the Avs. So Cale, Makar, Devon Toews set this one up now for Necas. There's a beautiful entry across the left wing for Lehkonen. His shot was a left pad save there for Jake Ottinger. Ottinger's been pretty good. So is Mackenzie Blackwood. Devon Toews into the screen, and this one's gloved by Jake.
And so far, Colorado with a fast start. They came out to a fast start in the first period, and they want to keep that same energy in that second period. So, again, they had that fast start in which they got 2 early shots on Jake Ottinger. Devon Toews with a smart shot, too, and also with the screen that helps them out front. So we profiled Misha Donskov, who's the assistant coach of the Dallas Stars, one of the many assistants alongside Steve Spott. So far, so good for Colorado.
Brock Nelson wins this draw, but it goes all the way back to the Avs defense, and they'll have to start again from right to left again. They are in the road whites with the cerulean and maroon on the top between the shoulder blade and the pants as this puck gets deflected out of play. No penalty.
And so far between these, it's been much of the opposite of what we saw in the first period of last year's game one in the second round. And last year, it's been all Dallas. They jumped out to a 3-0 lead. But from that moment, it was all Colorado, which they took control and didn't look back, scoring 4 unanswered to close out the game, including the overtime winner. But we don't see that coming out.
No, Alec, as you said, this one looks a lot closer. Again, they're profiling 0-5-2 in the regular season for the Dallas Stars, but you're better off blasting those stats into the sun because it's unrecognizable for a team as good as this. As Mackenzie Blackwood slowly plays this toward the right side off the bumper, and now Colorado can take this one right to left. Dallas at home in the victory green with the black pants and white striping. They get the steal. Here's Mason Marchment off the drop for Sagan. And his passer's looking for Duchesne, but it bounces off his skate. It's going to give Colorado possession. Good feather pass. Bellinachuskin off the 1-on-3. And all of a sudden, Colorado was in the midst of some changes. They just didn't know where the puck was. Pick up now for Marchment off the drop near the right side. Send it back around the inboards here. Mackenzie Blackwood on the stand up near the left post as Dallas will force the steal. And this will go right to Blackwood, who will elect to hold.
The game has been transpiring rather slowly here in this second period. It's ended up slowly, but Dallas is comfortable slowing the pace down here as of late. You know, they're throwing around quite a few shots around through the end boards, but not a lot of dangerous looks. That speaks to the defenses.
And I'm not going to say that this would be the one thing that Dallas wants to do, but honestly, Dallas, it would benefit them, Alec, correct, if they can slow down Colorado. You don't want to turn this into a track meet.
You know, track meets are the last thing you want to see in the Stanley Cup playoffs because they are far and few in between. Rush chances are few, but they have to be earned.
And that's what you have to have. Mikael Granlund, former Shark, he was another one of those pickups. It's a shame that the Stars couldn't hold on to Max Domi because I thought he was pretty good in that time when they picked him up from the deadline a couple of years ago as another shot goes up and out of play.
And you mentioned about Granlund because he's had a career revival in his tenure with the Sharks after a down year split between Nashville and Pittsburgh. But once he found his footing in San Jose, he became a hot commodity on the trade deadline. And that's when Dallas picked him up. And his assets on offense are valuable onto a Dallas team that already emphasizes offense.
And Rope Hintz looks like he might have taken a shot block uncomfortably on the bench.
Oof. That doesn't look to be good for the Stars. He's wincing in pain. I think the medical staff needs to take a look at him to see if he tweaks something.
Yeah, Rope Hintz, they're already without Jason Robertson. If they go without Rope Hintz for an extended amount of time, that would be absolutely devastating. As here's a pass is blind right in the middle of the slot. Colorado going to pick it up. Work away toward the net. Here's a turnaround chance. And this will get deflected off the Dallas skates. Sent back down there for Sam Girard to get the pass back here for Brock Nelson. Still not used to really seeing him in a Colorado uniform. Remember all that time for the New York Islanders, but he's been really good alongside with Charlie Coyle since that part of the deadline. Even the mention with Jack Drury, as Alec mentioned. As this is sent back amongst the inboards, Maverick Bork finishes his check, and Colorado able to escape out of their own end from the feather from Manson, as this will be chipped in. Ryan Lindgren hasn't got a lot of points, but he's known to be more of the shutdown type, and they wanted to solidify that bottom six, and I think that was a good job for Chris McFarland and Joe Sakic. As this is near the right bumper off the drop, good steal for Dallas as they'll play this against the wall. Manson now off the step up as one of the Stars, one of the Avalanche loses an edge, and this will be flipped back. Lindgren will get this one back out. This eludes Oscar Beck, and then let's go back down the ice here for Esa Lindell. Esa Lindell and Thomas Harley have been so good in the plus minus, well above 30. This is off the drop for Drury. This shot will get deflected off the setup from Necas, and toward the right side, Artturi Lehkonen tries to find it, but he gets pressed up against the glass. 16:30 left to go in the second. Joining with you alongside Alec Nava. We're scoreless here in Game 1. This is opening night of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Winnipeg Jets get that 5-3 win. That was the first game. MacKinnon slows up, shoots. Good right pad save there from Jake Ottinger. And Nathan MacKinnon can turn shots into a split second where they're always dangerous. Nathan MacKinnon now slows up. Pass across. Here's a shot. Good save as this was blocked out amongst the defense.
MacKinnon ran right into a defender when trying to make a double move right towards the high slot. But on the second one, he looked to make a cross-ice pass, which he did to kill Makar. And MacKinnon, he slowed up, tried to mess with Thomas Harley's head, slowed down over the top of the slot, and got the shot away. Jake Ottinger was ready for that. But as he comes back with his puck, he looks to go cross-ice instead of shooting it. Finds a wide-open Cale Makar. Once again, Ottinger stopped it, and his goal stick went flying.
And I say this the best way that I can. We talk about Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and all of that. you got to put Nathan MacKinnon in that same category, and we know that Dallas already knows that in terms of trying to get all that stuff done, and Cale Makar, but especially Nathan MacKinnon on the forward side, absolutely elite. And now Marty Necas able to benefit from some of the same stuff that Mikko Rantanen was for that many seasons. As this is set now the other way for Dallas. Stop there for Marchman, try to look for Ben, but this pass goes all the way down, the iced against the Stars.
And a bit of unfortunate luck that time around. We see Eric Johnson, who only wanted to go back to Colorado on a potential trade. He did have a no-movement clause, but Danny Briere treated him like a player who had a no-movement clause. So you see the injury to Roope Hintz, it looked like it's somewhere towards the lower leg area.
And that was inadvertent off of his own defense, as we still see him at the players' bench. I haven't seen him back on the same shift. He's got 6:45 of ice time, but that'll be something Alec and I will monitor because they need number 24. As we already said, he's one of the very best two-ways in the game. He's got blinding speed as well. Picked up now off the backhand. Again, they do have Mikko Rantanen now from that long extension, but you did lose Logan Stankoven, who was another one of those big pieces for the Dallas Stars. So it'll be pretty good moving forward throughout his career, I would imagine. Is Devon Toews off the tie up there. This will be sent back around the end boards. Dallas now, high slot shot. This will be saved by Mackenzie Blackwood. Brush toward the right side red line, but this is still with Dallas. Toews tried to loft it out of the backhand. Here's a chance off a couple of sticks. Jamie Benn will push this one ahead, and now he'll get to it. Jamie Benn now spin on his backhand. He's shoved by Toews as this goes to the right side corner. 14:50 left to go in this scoreless second. Shots on goal are 12-9 Colorado. This will be flipped back amongst the end boards again. As good Let's Go Stars chance. Toews Soleil amongst the end boards, and Colorado now mercifully gets it out of the zone. As they'll pick this one up now for Bischel. Bischel will cross ice pass. Will be sent back down. No icing as Devon Toews still trying to battle for the puck. Sagan takes ahead to try to make a play. Again, he's already been signed alongside with Jimmy Benn for a long time with the Dallas Stars and Jim Nill. Here's a shot intentionally wide off the backboards. Mackenzie Blackwood has had enough of it. He'll hold on.
You bet he's had enough of it. Of course, two dangerous chances right at the front, and we have some commotions here. Barry Nichushkin and Mason Marshman against one another. But Tyler Sagan, who still having himself a solid season, sends one back to Lee Bischel. No deflection from Matt Duchene, who wants to get this rebound. There was no room right in front for Duchene to maneuver that inside. And then he sort of body slammed right in front. And a curl and drag shot was by Wyatt Johnston earlier. That hit it, Cale Makar's stick. A lucky bounce for Johnston that hit Blackwood.
I would say so, because of Blackwood, that would have been really difficult to track other way and otherwise, as it's 12-10 on the shot board, 14-19 left in the second. I'm taking over the second. I'll be handing this back half and half with Alec here for the third. We'll see when we get our first goal. Here's a good drop pass. Rister, this will be partially blocked out in front. Colorado trying to throw it up middle of the slot. Here's Charlie Coyle. As you get his camera shot, this will go through center ice. Josh Manson will pinball pass it. He's going to give it right to the Stars as they get their entry across the left wing. Manson now, former Anaheim Duck. He's been with Colorado for a couple seasons now. Bischel. Hill will take this long outstretched pass from 50. This connects. Bouncing off the Colorado defense, Roope Hintz will indeed take a shift. As this will be a puck over the glass. We'll see if we get a penalty.
Oh, we have to see here. And we did see Roope Hintz out there onto the ice, so he's back from his injuries. So we'll get the official call from the county side, Kelly Sutherland.
So it's going to be Ryan Lindgren, Alec, that's going to go to the box for a delay game.
Yep, that was over the glass. It was debatable, but Roope Hintz tried to get that puck away from all harm's way. As Lindgren tried to clear, he had the idea of trying to get this out for the zone. Just fired this over the glass. No deflection, he's going to sit down.
It'll be a good time. Again, I know Colorado will get a chance to rest here with the commercial break. For Dallas, rest, get their top-line personnel out for a power play opportunity. Both teams have had 2 chances so far on the power play, as we're still waiting for our first goal.
And still, of course, these goaltenders playing superb in between these 2 periods. I would imagine this continues to carry out onto this penalty kill. So you mentioned about the Battle of Alberta. Could it be realistic to say that this goes to full 7 games and it's all-out war?
in between. You're talking to Ottawa.
Battle of Ontario, excuse me.
Yeah, Battle of Ontario. Yeah, no, it could.
I know what I meant to say.
Yes.
Again, I just misspoke.
No, I got you, and I agree. I think it could be. That's something I'll talk a little bit more when we get into the second intermission, but I know a lot of people are excited for that series as well. They should be. I know Ian probably sent you the same message he sent me as far as someone scolding hot bracket. They had Ottawa and Winnipeg in the Stanley Cup final with Ottawa winning, I believe.
Oh my goodness. Imagine the scenes of Canada's capital if Ottawa does manage to pull up a miracle run their first playoff appearance in 8 years. But also at the same time, imagine the scenes in Toronto if they finally break not only the Canada drought, but the Harold Bauer curse that's been lasting for 57 years and counting of Craig Berube. That could be possible.
It could be. I really think that's the best team that they're going to have. Again, we'll figure out again what happens with Mitch Marner. You know where I feel about that. Toronto wants to hold on to him as much as possible, but Marner's going to command about north of 15 million plus. We know that per season because that's how good he is. So here it is, a key power play for the Dallas Stars. It's their second opportunity. Will they draw first blood? As this gets raced in the right corner off the tie up there from Wyatt Johnston. Here's a shot into the traffic, deflected, and Colorado will be the first to get to. This is an opportunity to counter here with Cale Makar. Risker this one get deflected off of Harley. Matt Duchene now off the spin and turn, and Cale Makar did an excellent job just killing time. This will go ahead and take back to his defensive post. Again, you have the mix there alongside with Brock Nelson as well on part of that penalty kill, as they're pretty much giving puck entry here to the Dallas Stars. This is in the high slot now. Harley with a sauce pass. Number 55 will get it right back as Thomas sends it across. Here's a chance toward the right side bumper for Duchene. Back for Harley now in the high slot. Dallas kept on the outside chance. What a stop by Blackwood, his best of the game, as that one goes down the ice.
You mentioned about penalty killing. Goaltending has been a major factor in this turnaround, the penalty killing, as they were below average before the goaltending trades, and now with Blackwood, he's one of the big reasons why they've been even out. Oh, what a great back check.
That was, and Granlund couldn't hold the zone, and now Dallas has to start back up again in the victory green. Blackwood with a full sprawl diving save. Rantanen slows up at the line, makes the pass. Harley deflected. It was behind Blackwood, but Colorado, tremendous job to clean out the crease. Now Lehkonen racing the other way, and this will be solved by Jake Ottinger. Again, Lehkonen knows he wants to score against his former team, and the choo-choo train is excellent in the postseason alongside with Artturi Lehkonen. As long as they can keep those two on the ice, that's all that matters. Colorado is that much more dangerous when they already have guys like MacKinnon and Makar. Sent back amongst the inboards now. As this will be recollected here for Thomas Harley. 5 seconds left to go on the power play. Certainly looks like they're going to go 0 for 2, but Blackwood able to save their bacon a couple times. Colorado kills it. This is right out of the box for Lindgren. He gets tackled and slammed against the inboards. I can't believe that wasn't a penalty there. Now he's being cross-checked. Colorado being all sorts of worked over at the line. No call, and the ref is standing on top of the play. That's almost inexcusable. As Marty Necas now back in amongst the inboards. And again, I'm not trying to root for one of these teams, but my goodness, picked up off the backhand, and that one goes wide. As this will be settled back down to the right side. Artturi Lehkonen, his pass will get picked off. And now Tyler Seguin, he was running out of gas. A little bit of a partial hook, but Cale Makar get this one. Sam Steele will go ahead and give chase. As that was a trip with a skate. That was not called. Stopped by Blackwood to the right side. That was an easy call that should have been made. Dallas now drop for Steele. Here's a wrister save. Blackwood, it's loose out in front. Another save. Blackwood, a third save. My goodness. As this goes to the right side boards. And now Colorado gets this away. That's crazy what's not been called here. Nathan MacKinnon off the drop through speed. This one's solved by Ottinger. Scores! Colorado gets it first.
Oh my goodness, what did we just win? Are they gonna call it they're gonna call it a goal, but it's not, but the Stars are not wanting to let them celebrate. This is like when Denny Hamlin was not letting Alex Bowman celebrate in one of his NASCAR victories, but finally, after 29 minutes and 30 seconds of play, And after a chaotic sequence, we finally have first blood as Lehkonen literally was getting tackled in the midst of a shot right after a previous tackle. This one off of Ottinger, gets his own rebound back.
Wow.
Bork was going off to Bork, just hit him right behind, and Lehkonen hits the right post in the midst of getting this one up onto the left corner. What did we just witness here?
Alec, am I crazy to think that that play just beside the other net there for Colorado should have been called a penalty? There was cross checks, there was everything. There was a tripping against the Avalanche that was not called, from Dallas. I mean, they were lucky that they didn't give up a power play.
Yeah, the Avalanche were lucky that they didn't get a power play out of this, and now we're getting official looks about this replay. Did Lehkonen slew foot Bork in the midst of it, or did Bork just simply tangle up Lehkonen that much? We don't know who initially started it, but what we do know is that they were both fighting for the puck. But how in the world did Lehkonen find the means to pick up that puck on his rebound as he was getting tangled up with Bork?
Alec, that's Ovechkin-esque there for Artturi Lehkonen. That is gorgeous.
Or did he kick this in? And speaking of Ovechkin-esque, Ovechkin did play some soccer previously in his home country in Russia. And we're going to have an official word as Nathan MacKinnon is having a discussion with the official Jake Brink. It appears they're looking to see if this was kicked.
No kicking motion. It's a goal for Artturi Lehkonen. Honestly, I think all of us would have been sad if that was taken off the board because that was magnificent.
Yeah, he didn't deliberately kick this one towards the net. He was tangled up by Maverick Bork. Just a little bump draft onto his rear end.
And Alec, I'm going to jump back into this in a moment, but am I looking at that correctly? His 24th postseason goal?
Well, we're not living in a fantasy, but he is known to step up in the playoffs, especially in series-clinching games.
Holy cow. Again, I talk about Artturi Lehkonen and Velma Chuskin, but to see that again, it made me have to wipe my 4 eyes off the glasses. This is picked up now right at the halfway point. This has been a masterful game one so far. Dallas leading on the shot board 17-15, but they go off sides there with Granlund. Artturi Lehkonen draws first blood.
And unfortunate to do so because for the most part, John, we both thought that there was going to be a penalty called. There could have been a penalty for the deliberate tackle. There could have been a penalty for the trip. There could have been a penalty for a little slew foot. There could have been something here and there. But no, they just let this one go, and the red light goes on at long last.
When I look at that replay, and I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here, but it's certainly like the first shot, again, Artturi Lehkonen gets to his rebound, full marks. But on that second effort, as he's battling with position and both players go down, certainly it looks like a gust of wind might have taken that one toward the left side of the mesh and put that in. I don't know how the puck curved that way, but it went in the top left corner past Ottinger. That was a gift from the gods.
We're still wondering how that even went in the first place because that was a puck that wasn't supposed to go in. But it did miraculously by some way, shape, and form.
Man, this game keeps on giving. I'm glad that we were able to join for this game one. I think both of us knew that this series would be one to watch. But again, when you go through, even after, guys that have played each other over and over again, it's not the same amount as the Kings in Edmonton. I mean, you can beat that one to death. They say between life, death and taxes. You could also say the same thing between the Kings and the Oilers playing each other. The Avalanche and the Stars aren't quite at that moment yet, but sign me up for one of these two teams play because it always seems to be pretty good.
And it's getting to the point between the Kings and Oilers that for the Kings, it's getting to a level where it's Boston Bruins versus Toronto Maple Leafs level of trying to slay playoff demons. But even for the common narrative that all the Oilers are going to beat them, there's something about that Kings-Oilers series this year that thinks that this year might be different.
It's with all the injuries that we talked about, Alec, for me, that I think is going to be different there. Jake Woolman, another one of those on the back end side that they would need. Again, McDavid and Draisaitl don't know if they're exactly healthy because that doesn't seem to be. Matthias Ekholm's going to miss some time. But it really comes down to it, and I know you're going to agree, the home ice advantage finally belongs to the Kings.
That may be a sigh of relief. And not to mention, this is the best Kings team that we've seen in a while.
Yeah, and Quentin Byfield's really stepped up. Anze Kopitar, I don't know what kind of fountain of youth he's drinking from. Same thing with Joe Pavelski over the years, but he just continues to get it done. And I agree with Alec. I think if it's going to be time, I will pick the Kings to finally win this series. Hell, I picked them the last couple of years, and it never ends up coming to fruition. As this puck goes back to Ottinger, who'll hold with 9:30.
And it may be finally time for the Kings to get something. We're seeing White Johnson. Oh my God, he was all alone down low for a turnaround chance. All these glorious chances for the Stars. And even with the old Joe Pavelski tipping from Tyler Seguin. Well, after Pavelski, you would have Seguin as your net front guy who get all the redirections in front. That's what I wanted to see, get the redirections. Mackenzie Blackwood's been stout.
He got 15 saves. Or 14 out of 15 for Ottinger, 15 for Blackwood, but all of these chances for both netminders have been like the most dangerous 10 out of 10 that you could get. So you can kind of multiply that effort as much as you can. There's a 3-on-2 developing. As this will be dropped right out in front. Oh, what a stop there for Jake Ottinger, as that was all in one motion. An opportunity for Duchesne, finds the entry. Duchesne with speed, working his way up the wraparound. He couldn't buy it as he ran out of space. It was a good back cut there for the Avs defense. They've been able to close down a lot of chances from in tight. As it's 8:45 left to go in the second, I'll be getting set to handle this back over to Alec Nava, unless he wants me to take the top of the third and close it. We'll see if we're going to need overtime. We still got a long way to go from that, though. 8:35 left to go in the second, but I'm really enjoying this one, as this is sent back in amongst the end boards. We're at American Airlines right now to host the game one. This shot will go high and hit the netting.
Oh, what a back check by Cale Makar to deny Matt Duchesne of a wraparound try. As Duchesne was looking all alone at the front of the net, and Makar was straddling him the entire way. Devon Toews as well, off the 3-on-2 of a glorious chance. That was off a piece of Jake Ottinger, off his shoulder. But I'm going to highlight the back check by Makar. The reason why it's not a tight eye game right now, even though Blackwood left a wide open net onto his left side, was because Makar forced Duchesne wide and denied him of a wraparound.
Yeah, and you're right, because it's elite speed there for Cale Makar. But again, we know he's up to do that, offense, defense, and everything else. But if he doesn't make that play, Matt Duchesne easily makes this a 1-1 game, even with as good as Blackwood's been. It's picked up on the backhand now for Artturi Lehkonen. That was an excellent body control there off the drop pass. It's too far for Josh Manson. Here's a 1-on-1 as this goes in the corner now. The Avs defense is to get busy. Sent back amongst the embankment now. Nathan MacKinnon gets hit hard, but it doesn't dislodge the helmet. Now Marty Necas is able to gain the red line and send it in. Jake Ottinger now slowly stops this amongst the end boards. Big hit by Necas as he rocks his man. My goodness. Josh Manson. That was the best one of the game so far. 7:45 left to go in the second. This will be recollected here for the Colorado Avalanche. Here's a battle for a moment. Valnichuk can try to pry it ahead. Sam Steele now has to take a pain. His glove went flying. Ryan Lindgren now hauled up against the boards. Valnichuk. It's pretty strong with the puck, but just loses it there for a moment. This will be flipped in by the Stars. Their offense at the moment feels like it's been cut off by Colorado, but Dallas can activate at any moment. Here's an opportunity off the drop back, able to send this one in. A deflected opportunity, but Mackenzie Blackwood, no problem.
Well, we're starting to see the hits rack up here. We saw a heavy hit from Marty Necas out towards the near corner. Nathan MacKinnon facing an angry Rope Hintz who was just coming back from taking a shot block. And Necas, he just leveled this man. We're seeing blows flying off through the ice from Sam Steele. All of these hits are all over the place. Necas, of course, that caught our attention.
Yeah, it did, because again, you get to know Marty Necas a lot from the Carolina side, but I really do think he's one of the most underrated players that we have in the NHL.
Yes, exactly.
As this is in the right side corner off the tie-up, Colorado will get this through neutral now. It'll be a race for the puck. Little inside-out positioning too far there for the Stars. Mikko Rantanen. Been a little silent in this game so far. Again, you got to go to the feels for him from some of those trades. Long shot. This will be solved by Ottinger, but that looked a little awkward as he reached behind him.
Yeah, he looked to be way out of his crease. He left a lot of open space among the sharp angles if anyone was going to get a shot out from those areas. But Liam Bishop wanted to backcheck right on former star Joel Kiviranta, who's found a home on the third line. Wherever he's at on the bottom six, you can rely on him for a couple of goals. He's took his game to another level this season, which is good news for Jared Bednar.
Yeah, Kiviranta, Colton, and a little bit of Logan O'Connor could have some backhand lines. I know I haven't got a chance to really call Sam Malinsky's name. I'd split some time between forward and defense, whether or not he plays that much in this series, but he's got a big-time shot as this one bounces in amongst the backboards, and that could come into play at some point if there are some injuries. Here will be an opportunity. That was a rifle pass picked off by Tyler Seguin. I think the Stars might have iced it against themselves. No, they didn't. They're going to wave that off. Devon Toews will be the first to get to it now. And now here's an entry with speed. It's a 2-on-1. Nathan MacKinnon is the pass recipient, but that didn't get there. Good back check there for the Stars. As this will get knocked away to Von Toews. We'll try to get a piece of it now. The Stars had to check back up. They would have been offsides. Find an entry now. Cale Makar. Here's a ripper. We'll get this intentionally off the backboards. And this will go right to the Stars. Stars now for Mason Marchment. He's a tough customer, a little bit of a two-way player. This will be sent back. Marchment gets his own puck retrieval. Victory Green trying to work with this out toward the right side. Down here's a rolling vulcanized rubber. And the Colorado Avalanche will get this one down the ice. At least they're neutral, and now the Stars, I believe, are offsides.
Yes, someone was changing as they wanted to get back onto the benches, but was too late in exiting the zone, so that's why the offside was up. But that looked a little auspicious as Marty Necas wanted to get the cross-ice speed to Nathan MacKinnon. We do mention about how rush chances are few and far between. But that time, Colorado earned that, and Necas had the right idea going towards MacKinnon. Just need to elevate that pass a little more because Cody Ceci was the only one in the way at that.
Yeah.
It is mentioned that how Ceci is a solid defenseman. He doesn't have to make a lot of responsibility. The problem for Colorado Dallas is that he had a lot of responsibility. He's an underrated defensive defenseman, but when he has too much responsibility, that pressure can get to him. Unfortunately, the pressure's not catching up to him.
No, you're right. That's a stick play in between Necas and MacKinnon with speed, and if he doesn't make that play, Nathan MacKinnon has a wide open shot in the left side dot that probably goes top right corner.
Yeah, he fired that baby home towards the top side if that were to be the case. But good pass breakup by Ceci.
So as it looks right now, again, 1-0, the Avalanche have the lead. We'll give you the reset. The only goal was in the second period. Artturi Lehkonen for MacKinnon and Necas. So that top line was the one that started to hum. As far as the team stats, 17-16 on the shot board. Avalanche up by 1 there. Hits 23-12. I'm surprised Colorado's got as many as they do, but Marty Necas with the latest pasting. And 21-15 on the faceoff board, all in favor of the Avs. Both teams 0 for 2 on the power play. Block shot 16-12 for Dallas. Giveaways, you don't want to lead there. Colorado's got 12. Dallas has 6.
That's a bit surprising on the hits department for Colorado because they're usually not a team that's physical. And when they rely on defense, it's usually on the back checking and with their sticks. But there comes times in which they can be physical, as seen with Nichushkin and Lehkonen. But there are other players who can be involved on the physical side of the action, not only with Lehkonen and Nichushkin. If we mention about players who can chime on the physical department, Parker Kelly could be that spot. Marty Necas, surprisingly, and Ross Colton.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think when they need to be, the Avalanche can check that box, but I would say the same thing as this puck gets iced. That both teams, Colorado and Dallas, like to play more so with skill and speed than other. I know in between the 8 series, especially in the first round, you would expect a ton of hits, but in between these two teams, I think probably less so.
Yeah, much less. This is more about speed and skill in most of the series. While the playoffs involves north-south hockey, these two teams play more of an east-west style of hockey.
So Jack Drury off the tie-up there, as this would put them some fourth-line time for Jared Bednar's squad as Ottinger stops it amongst the behind the net. As this will be left now for Bednar. Finally entry for Wyatt Johnston off the chip. 5:15 left to go on the second. Artturi Lehkonen's got the only goal of this game right now, as there are a lot of fans wearing Rope Hits jerseys. He's sent back down. Colorado's iced it again.
Not what you want to do here, Colorado, especially with the number of giveaways that you had. And with 12 giveaways, that usually doesn't win you games, but when your goaltender's been lights out, he can steal these games and things for you.
Absolutely. I think there is no blame here in between Mackenzie Blackwood or Jake Ottinger. It's up to Dallas right now trying to find some offense. Maybe if they get another power play, that's when they've got to convert. Both teams have already had two. Thomas Harley to get to make a play now as this one will be sent back down. I thought Niels Lundqvist wasn't playing. Here's a backhand, a forehand opportunity, and another back check. That was Cale Makar. As this one will be sent the other way off a 3-on-2. Lehkonen now. In between his skate blades, beautifully. It was a rolling puck for Marty Necas, and now we finally get a whistle at 4:40.
Well, finally there's a stoppage, but it's not a lot of time in between. And Nathan MacKinnon is talking to Kelly Sutherland about something. His glove was up. I think this may be a penalty against Dallas and maybe a chance for Colorado to extend their lead. Well, there's blood up onto his lip. We're not sure if this is going to be a high sticking penalty, but the dot up was on the back check, and Rope hits. Oh my goodness! He stick MacKinnon up high. I think this could be 4 minutes of high sticking, as Michael Gradler wanted to get this one up, and he couldn't find Hintz, who lost his stick in the process and was not too pleased.
Yeah, that one was pretty hard there for Rope Hintz against Nathan MacKinnon. It's not a lot of blood, but there is blood. And if you get that rule, Alec, you could maybe make this a 4-minute power play for Colorado, double minor.
Yeah, there's maybe a double minor in all likelihood. The training staff is checking on MacKinnon for his lip, and I think this could be a call of 4 minutes. Kelly Sutherland and Jake Brink are going to review it, but my intuitions tell me it's going to be 4 minutes.
So Rope, it's a double minor, and that's one of the guys, honestly, you don't want in the box if you're Dallas.
Ugly sequence, but it's unfortunate because of the stick tie-up, but when there is blood that's drawn on a high stick, that's always going to be a double minor. And the officials got this call correct because Hintz and stick MacKinnon up high off the tie-up, and even though the stick was broken as a result, there was no need for this.
Yeah, that was about as blatant as it got. That was a crazy camera shot that we just got. That's the luxury of working with the NHL side of it. I know they didn't score on a 5-on-3, so they're going to confirm this again. Rope Hintz going to get a high stick. That's what's going to be the call. But I know they didn't score on the 5-on-3. But Alec, even with Colorado having the lead, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is now. I think Colorado's got to score to make it a 2-goal lead.
No lead is safe, especially with Dallas on the penalty kill. Now, Dallas's PK is solid, but Colorado's power play has been on another level, and special teams has been solid for both of these two guys. And MacKinnon's getting out there with a clump on his nose because there may be some blood as a result of that high stick towards his lip. But this is the guy right here that you want to watch out for. He may have a fire lit under his eyes as a result of getting high stick right to the lip that drew blood, and he's not too pleased with it. If you look to see a pissed off Nathan MacKinnon, that would spell danger.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Nathan MacKinnon now working his way toward the bench, but he's given the Zebras the what for here. I think he might actually sit for this first part of the possession, but it is indeed a double minor. Again, that could carry all the way through 40 seconds left to go in the second. It's at the 4:40 marker. John there with you alongside Alec Nava. Artturi Lehkonen's got the only goal of this game as the Avs have a couple power play opportunities. This one not held in by Necas, and you would think in the very next shift, Nathan MacKinnon comes out on the ice, and here he is off of the other camera shot. 3:45 left to go in Colorado on the double minor. If they score again early enough, they got another carryover. As this is picked up here from Nathan MacKinnon, he will spin. I'm going to look to see if he shoots more of these toward the right side dot. I think he will be, as this is toward the right side now. Colorado looking for space. They're kept on the outside. Cale Makar extra pass. As he was kept on the outside, Shuskin with the retrieval. Sauce to MacKinnon. Now to Cale Makar. One more touch pass. Does not shoot was Drouin. Makar, MacKinnon. Send this around the end boards. Back to number 29. He's got it in the left side red line. Makar in the high slot. MacKinnon. Just a series of passing now as the one-timer gets fanned on. This goes right to the Avs. Another touch. This one is not shot as they had to pick it off the backboards. Here's a wrister. That one goes and hits the glass. Trying to be retrieved now for Nathan MacKinnon. Set it back now for Shuskin, former star. near the right side. Makar, when are they going to shoot it? It's MacKinnon now. Wrister knuckle puck. He scores!
As I spoke it into existence, this is the guy right here that you want to watch out for. Right after the double minor, he just tells the Stars that penalty was uncalled for. And the best news about this, you'll get another 2 minutes if you're Colorado of power play time as a result of this goal from Nathan MacKinnon. It wasn't a shot that looked all too dangerous, but it was a knuckle puck that bristled his way past Jake Ottinger. As he shot this one, might have bounced off of Ilya Lyubushkin. As MacKinnon was looking for an angle, what he was looking for was a deflection. He fires this one, and yes, it did bounce off of Lyubushkin. Ottinger reacted a little too late to stop that puck, but those are types of pucks that which is going to you're going to have a hard time tracking those ones.
Absolutely. You called that right in real time. Alec Nava with the gracious one there off Ilya Lyubushkin from Nathan MacKinnon. That was what I mentioned. I think it was a Colorado a must score. They got that opportunity. It was a blatant high stick against Rope Hintz that drew blood. That gives Colorado yet another opportunity on the power play with 3:05 left to go in the second. And considering what Dallas does not have in Miro Heiskanen and Jason Robertson, if they go down 3, this game probably is done unless we see something miraculous. And that's just what it is because Jason Robertson has not scored a ton in his playoff career during the postseason. However, he's still one of the better defensive players and a good setup man, so they really need to get him back on the ice. But I think they might miss him for all of round 1, it sounds like. As Lehkonen now. Here for Nelson off the drop as this is picked up here for Charlie Coyle. Coyle now. Send this here for Devon Toews. Back to Charlie. Charlie sends this into the middle of the dots, and this will be sent back down. So Nathan MacKinnon from Makar and Drury as Nate Dogg gets his first, and Artturi Lehkonen's already got one. It's a 2-0 lead for the Avs, 18-16 on the shot board. Opportunity for Martin Necas. Necas now. Stutter step, trying to get around the Dallas defense. This will be left now. Valnichuskin back out on the ice. A good stick shot by Cale Makar. Keeps that one in the zone. Here emerges Necas. He's got the puck again. This will be dropped for Nathan MacKinnon, who was back there but cleared down the ice. Mackenzie Blackwood. 25 seconds left to go in the second consecutive man advantage off of the double minor. Colorado now 1 for 3 on the power play. They'd be 1 for 4 if they don't score here. Offsides as Valnichuskin had too much of a step. This is a breakout pass, not a bad one. Marchman out front of that one. A stop by Blackwood. Short-handed. Keeps the game 2-0. Now Valnichuskin near the left side off the drop. Here's Colorado Wrister. This was saved by Ottinger and Necas. High slot Gerard, one more touch pass. Big save for Blackwood as it's now Gerard. Send this one the other way and it'll flip back down across the red as Colorado safely can take a change. Mackenzie Blackwood has had 2 point-blank stops. The latest one off the Russian, off the full sprawl off the pad. Otherwise, this could be a 2-2 game as this is flipped the other way now. A little bit too far. Brock Nelson lost it for a moment. And this will be intercepted by Coyle, but here is the victory green with Jimmy Benn, the captaincy, loses the puck. 40 seconds left to go in this second. Ilya Lyubushkin had the puck bounce off of him from Nathan MacKinnon. Big hit in the zone. The Dallas crowd doesn't like that. Sam Girard, as this will be chipped in off the glass, back now for Bischel. Bischel gets his own bounce. He needs some help, though, as this goes through the left side red line. Shot forward 19-17. And now players come together. It looked like a cross check. I saw a hand in the air, but that might have been offsides. That was the call, as it's picked up now away from Rantanen. Rantanen's been invisible here. It's only the second time I've called his name. This will be sent back down slowly amongst the inboards. That's going to end the second. Big goals from Lehkonen and MacKinnon and Mackenzie Blackwood. 2 mind-melting saves, and the Avalanche are good standing after 40.
This may be the coming out party for Mackenzie Blackwood here in the postseason in his first true taste of playoff action. It was a collision between Artturi and Lehkonen right up front, but since when has there not been a collision that has taken out some of the players around this game? But this second period has been the definition of chaos. We have excellent special teams by both teams, and excellent power plays from both teams. And even though the Stars have allowed a power play goal, the penalty killing has, outside that, been otherwise notable. They got a short-handed chance on Mackenzie Blackwood with Mason Marshman getting set up towards the low slot. And that almost cut the game to a bin one had it not been for Blackwood's heroics. He's been outstanding for Colorado in his first playoff game with them.
Yeah, he has. And again, he's taken any sort of moniker that I said in the beginning of this broadcast with you, Alec, and shut that down from the Four Nations. He was just away from a sub 900. Scott Wedgwood was close to about a 925, but I really don't think that there was any sort of thought in Jared Bednar's head that Mackenzie Blackwood wouldn't start this game one.
You ride the hot hand. That's what you need to do if you are Jared Bednar. Mackenzie Blackwood, he was rolling hot ever since the moment he was acquired.
Yeah.
So hot that they liked him to the point where they signed him to a new contract, which is going to kick in next season.
And the contract value there for Mackenzie Blackwood, I believe, is around a little bit over $5 million. But honestly, it's a pretty good value, especially considering the cap is going up.
Yes, and he's going to be serviceable down the line even for Colorado.
Yeah, and you thought about that in the mix of Alexander Georgiev. You were trying to get that locked down. You mentioned for Darcy Kemper, who won the Cup 3 seasons ago, how good he was. That didn't work out in Washington, didn't work out in LA. But I really do think now, and again, goaltenders, it can be a fleeting thing. There can be some momentum sometimes here and there that comes and goes. But Mackenzie Blackwood, considering all the time that he's played in San Jose, now he finally gets an opportunity in front of the Avalanche defense. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think Mackenzie Blackwood's going to be able to be rock solid throughout that contract.
I have faith that he will be providing the stabilized goaltending. He and Scott Wedgwood.
Artturi Lehkonen with his first from MacKinnon and Necas, and MacKinnon on the power play from Makar and Drouin. 1 for 4. The power play for Colorado. Too many penalties there for the Stars. I know that's easier said than done against a team like the Avalanche. But I do want to go ahead and talk about this. We alluded to it. This is going to be one of the primaries, but the Sens and the Maple Leafs. You might have mentioned this a little bit, Alec. I know that you did. Are you smelling upset? Are you calling upset? Or do you think it's going to be a long series between the Leafs and the Sens?
I don't know if I can call this series upset potential. Rivalries are weird in a sort of way. And because the Battle of Ontario is reinvigorated, we could be seeing an all-out war between the Maple Leafs and the Senators. Watch parties are going to be filled up on both major Ontario cities. A lot of bad blood is going to be on Brady Ice. We get to see Brady Tkachuk in a high-stakes game once again outside of his Four Nations face-off play. Austin Matthews gets a chance to shine. Craig Berube gets another chance to shine under a big market, the biggest market in the NHL. A chance to rewrite narratives, to rewrite everything that's been written about. But this series, outside of Avalanche Stars, the Maple Leafs Senators series is easily the most compelling series of the first round. If the Senators do pull this one off, I don't think I'll call it an upset, but say that this will be a major confidence boost for the Sens. But the Leafs do pull this one off. There's something that can say that whoever comes out the Atlantic Division could represent the East in the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that. If the Leafs do come out ahead, I would think that they're going to have to be chomping the bit again in the mix of Tampa and Florida because that would be their next opponent. And for the Sens and the Leafs, we can say this and let this be the lead story because for those that are only half paying attention or don't follow hockey around as much, and between the Sens and the Leafs, you have elite goaltending. Linus Ullmark and Anthony Stolarz are the two of the best goaltenders that we have in the NHL.
We all know about Ullmark and what he can do split between his time in Buffalo and Boston. Former Vezina Trophy winner. Though he has to step it up come playoff time because the postseason has not been kind to him. I think Ottawa, he turns it around and where his numbers truly come to around to form with the Senators. Anthony Stolarz is in his first full-time season as a starter. He previously was a career backup split between Philadelphia, Anaheim, and Florida. But it was in Florida where he got his championship-winning experience as the backup to Sergei Bobrovsky. And he's carried that play over to Toronto where he signed on a midterm deal with the Maple Leafs. What Craig Berube does is that he makes the most out of his defensive defenseman. That this turnaround is a complete identity change from the Maple Leafs. They've embraced being a tough team to go up against. They're the heaviest team in the NHL,
Yeah.
and their metrics do back it up. So there's a sentiment that Berube's system suppresses offensive defensemen, and even though Morgan Riley is still the backbone of the offense of that department, he has not been having a good season. But that could speak more to what Berube's system does. It suppresses offensive defensemen, like what it did to Vince Dunn before him. So Riley still has the playoff pedigree, but the system that Berube employs favors more of guys like Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Chris Tanev.
And I agree with you, and I think that you're going to take that trade-off because when you're looking at it, we already know about the Leafs. They have enough goal scoring. Whether or not certain guys come through or don't come through in the postseason, we've talked about that enough, and I'm not going to continue to beat that as a dead horse. But John Tavares has been unreal this year, and what could very well be, unless he goes for a hometown discount again next year, his last tour of duty with the Leafs. He's already more than done made up for that. Chris Tanev, as you mentioned, still one of the best defensive defensemen, and Stolarz has been unbelievable. I will give the Leafs the slight edge, although I would not be surprised if the Senators go ahead and get the job done. In fact, of the 6 out of 8 series, I wouldn't be surprised if there was an upset. The only two, as we said, we already called one. I don't think there's any chance the Devils beat the Canes. And then I will say this, the only other one where I give no chance, and Alec can disagree with me on this, if he wants to take the other way, I'd be interested to hear it. But I'm not giving the Wild any chance against the Golden Knights.
You know, I actually agree with you on the Wild because the Wild, let's go back to the first half of the season. There used to be a time in which Minnesota was one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah.
That was emphasized with the play of Kirill Kaprizov because he was destroying the world. When he went down, the whole trajectory turned around. Injuries upon injuries upon injuries for Minnesota, and it just keeps piling up. In fact, it got worse when Joe Eriksson went down. Jonas Brodin went down. Who was holding the fort? Philip Gustafson, Matt Bodie, and Brock Faber. Those three were the key reasons on why they were nominated to the Four Nations face-off rosters. But it's been a very tough year for Minnesota ever since Kaprizov went down. And one can argue that if he played the full season, Minnesota would still end up as a top 3 seed in the Central Division. It's just that unfortunate of a circumstance. And it's sad to see that season would go out like this, not only for the Wild, but for Marc-Andre Fleury's career.
Yeah, again, we'd like to see, and again, if it comes down to, let's say Gustafson struggles and you bring in Marc-Andre Fleury, well, he's already got enough motivation considering he was a former Golden Knight.
Yeah, he has already enough motivation, and given the unceremonious exit, you'd think that this could be even more personal for the Flower. And even if he's one of the more calm guys and one of the more lighthearted players in the NHL, you got to believe that if he does suit up, this may be his chance to take over.
Yeah, again, that'll be something to think about. Those are the only 2 series, like I said, in between the Canes and the Golden Knights, where I feel like those teams have the distinct advantage. Again, that even puts the Capitals on upset watch for me. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but at least out of 6 out of 8, it could, because the Montreal Canadiens, they've had 9, 10-game win streaks. They've been good. Their game 1 starts on Monday on the road at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. And then also another game 1 starts on Monday, the Lake Cap on ESPN2. All of those games will be on ESPN2 on Monday. That'll be Oilers Kings. That's going to start at Crypto.com Arena. And if you're wondering why I'm breaking down the days of the schedule, it gets a little wonky because we're going to have another game 1 start on Tuesday. That is the Panthers and Lightning. That'll be at Amalie. Again, all those games on Sunday and Monday will be on the ESPN family of networks. So there's going to be a lot of staggered starts. I know Alec Nava, Ian's going to join in the mix of it as well. They're going to carry through a lot of that coverage while I'm gone as I get set to return around game 6 and 7. But what I'm telling you guys to watch out for is watch out for the schedule standings, what games you think are being played, because there's a lot of staggered starts. And all of that will even out by the time we get to Game 6 and Game 7, which will be around May 1st and May 3rd.
That battle Florida is going to be intense, and I'm surprised they get a Tuesday start because normally, when you think of Game 1 starts, Monday will be the last day of the Game 1 starts. The fact that it's starting on Tuesday, it's just weird to me how they would start on a Tuesday, Game 1 of that series. And at the ESPN2 site, Game 1 on an 8:30 start time. That's really unusual. They have Monday, where it's Game 1 between Caps and Habs, Game 1 between Oilers and Kings, and then in the midst of it, Game 2 of the series that we're covering, and Jets Blues.
Yeah, it is interesting the way that they've staggered it. You kind of wonder, I would say this in between the Florida Panthers, maybe they're happy to get a whole bunch of extra rest and not have to start until Tuesday.
And perhaps because the belief is that they were resting their players to prepare for title defense. But there's a lot that worries me about the Panthers and a lot that intrigues me about the Lightning. That doesn't mean that the Panthers can't pull this one out, but I'm inclined to believe that the Lightning can pull this one out in 7 games. I think all that rest over the last 2 years has given them all the more motivation to finally break out the first round fumble and win a playoff series for the first time post Stamkos.
Yeah, and I like what Julian Breezewell and company has done for Tampa. It's the same thing for Chris McFarland and Joe Sakic, which in Colorado and Tampa. You can draw those parallels from 3 seasons ago. And Alex, sometimes it's interesting as we get from that part in time how teams and organizations still try to build and be able to stay at that same high level. But both Colorado and Tampa have been able to do so, despite their teams looking drastically different. They seem to be the possible favorites in a lot of eyes.
And a lot of eyes, you believe that these two will be coming out their conferences, and there's a lot of strong belief to do so. The Atlantic is a bloodbath, and there's a belief in me that whoever comes out the Atlantic wins the Eastern Conference.
Okay.
So I can say this is for Tampa, Florida, and while I can say Washington, and I can say I'll give Washington a legitimate chance, dare I say this? I think I am a believer that Toronto, if they make it out the Atlantic, I actually believe they can make it to the final this year. There's just something that is different about this year's Leafs team compared to previous Leafs teams.
The fact that they play defense, they have elite goaltending, and can still score as much as they do, I don't blame you, because you and I are setting aside the moniker of the Leafs not being able to get it done in the postseason because we have to look at neutral as possible out. We cover a lot of these games, and you can't believe in those narratives. Yes, we've seen it with our eyes, but each year is a different story.
Yeah, different story each year. Though it ends up with a familiar result for Toronto in years past, because in the previous years, they played a more possession-heavy game in which they like to do track meets. That doesn't work in the playoffs. This year, they're more prepared for the playoffs. And even for all the close results that they played for the regular season, part of that is for the wear and tear and the grind, the long grind of the regular season to get them prepared for playoff hockey. That they use the regular season as an auditioning for what they want to do come playoff time.
Yeah, and if Craig Berube ends up getting the job done with the Leafs and maybe they go on to win the Stanley Cup, that was the NHL 25 simulation, by the way, the Leafs as the Cup champions. I know that drew a lot of laughs on social media, but it is what it is. But if he ends up winning it, he's going to be a coach there until he decides to retire.
I mean, that's not hyperbole either, because if he manages to end one curse with the St. Louis Blues and ends another curse with the Toronto Maple Leafs, then of course he's starting to get nominations for potential Hall of Fame status, even though he may be far away from that. But he probably can cement himself as one of the best coaches in the NHL, for that matter. That he gets his boys prepared for playoff hockey.
And I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but I know we talked about this in the first intermission about Bruce Cassidy and Jim Montgomery, the former Bruin coaches that were let go by Cam Neely. But what happens if the St. Louis Blues end up lifting the Stanley Cup and the Vegas Golden Knights already did, and Bruce Cassidy and Montgomery win Stanley Cups with new organizations? What does that say about Boston?
What it says here is that they need a deep look in the mirror about what they are as an organization.
I agree.
The fact that Montgomery got canned after the poor start that has more to attest with the lack of depth scoring for Boston. It's poor roster construction for the Bruins. It's the right ideas with Elias Lindholm and Nikita Zadorov. But would I be willing to sign up to those bloated contracts when they're more defensive-oriented guys and that Lindholm's coming off a down year? I think that's rather questionable because it just cost them Jake DeBrusk. It's bad roster construction on the Bruins' part and all going downhill ever since what was essentially their last chance in 2023.
You said it right. I absolutely agree. That's what happened to Boston. I think when we were both going into the season, we said, really? We like the players. I just don't like the dollar amount and the longevity of those contracts. I understand it's a business and players want the security, but that just didn't make sense for the Boston Bruins. And then they played around a little bit too much. Thank goodness they got Jeremy Swayman signed, but they played around so wrong with him that I thought that maybe that wasn't going to happen.
Oh my goodness. And you wonder what else is going to happen. And now, lo and behold, the Bruins were stuck in mud all season long, couldn't get the goal scoring because of said poor roster construction. No coach was going to fix that, not even Jim Montgomery. And he was labeled the fall guy for the team's shortcomings when it was the poor roster construction all along. The real problem here was Don Sweeney, and he needed to be let go. They fired the wrong guy.
I agree with you completely. Again, I hate to bag on everybody because we're not, but I mean, that's the right way. I think a lot of fans think the same thing. Oh, we even said it at the trade deadline, Alec. As much as and as hard as it was to move on from Brad Marchand, it was probably the right call, but they certainly didn't get enough for him.
Because they had no leverage.
Right.
It was only a conditional second-round pick in return because Marchand had forced his hand up to the trade and said the only place they want to go to is Florida. And he got his wish. Just a second-round pick in return meant no leverage in the deal. The other trades were all right, whether it be in the Justin Brazeau deal, which they got Lako and Kushnedinov, or when they trade for Casey Middlestat that sent Charlie Coyle the other way. Well, they got a prospect out of that deal, and not to mention that they traded away Brandon Carlo for Fraser Minton. That's someone to watch.
Yeah, we'll see how it ends up working out for them. I think Boston, and I agree with Alec on the back end side of the moves made sense toward the end, but I think Boston is going to struggle for a little bit. It kind of seems like they didn't have the backup plans ready for guys like David Krejci, Patrice Bergeron, and Brad Marchand, probably when they already should have had those backup plans planned for about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, and that speaks to the fact that why would you fire Jim Montgomery when he's not the problem on your team? He's one of the best coaches in the league, and his time in St. Louis is showing exactly that.
Yeah, it is. Do you want me to take the top half of the third so you can close it, or how do you want to do this?
How about I let you close it?
Okay, go ahead.
All right, because I want you to go out on a high note before everything goes out. Third period is underway. Alec Nava, John, not here with you. Colorado leads 2-0 thanks to Artturi, Lehkonen, and Nathan MacKinnon, who has 2 points to ladder as this one goes out of play. And you got to wonder if MacKinnon has that fire lit under his eyes after he got high sticked.
So we're getting a look now on the TV side of the distinct kicking motion deliberately propelled for Artturi Lehkonen. I don't think there's anything deliberate there when you get all tied up with Maverick Pork. That was just a matrix move.
Yeah, and when you get tied up like that, nothing about this is intentional. He went down and got tied up on that tangle. Toews, long shot from 60 feet, patted aside by Ottinger and out of play.
I want to know whatever DNA that Artturi Lehkonen has in the postseason for that clutch gene and inject that into my veins.
That possibly the same genes in which he inherited from players of killer mentality past and even present, like Carter Verhaeghe, who has 5 overtime winners to his name. Tied for third most in NHL history, right behind Maurice Richard and Joe Sakic. It's directed onto the far corner of the Dallas zone, controlled by Ceci with Necas on his face. Lindell, he'll leave it up front, and skating with us is Jamie Benn. In his final year of his current deal, directs it to the far corner. Colorado tries to get this out, and they will, along the benches. Looking to send this one up. Tie up near the Dallas bench. They'll send this one back, and Ottinger comes out of his crease, places for Harley, who moves it up. Harley, look out, there's a big hit by Josh Manson. And this goes towards the Dallas bench, and Harley, who is tangled up, manages to wrest off the puck. Hits. Directs us up front, and over the near half boards. Cannot send it out. Granlund. Oh, look out again. There's Josh Manson one more time as he's delivered another big hit. Tied up on Harley, and this exits out through center. Heavy hitting is in the name of the playoffs. Here's this goes across for Nichushkin. Holds, fires, directed wide. Manson's turning it on here as Harley directs this to Lyubushkin. Sends it out into the far half boards, and there's another one for Samuel Girard. Undersized, yet it plays like he is taller than his size. Duchesne gloves it down one. The Stars takes a spill. Marchment fires, and that one went over Blackwood. The Avalanche get this one back as they take it across the red line and dump it in. What a shift that Josh Manson has had here so far. And this is cleared up, and Marchment sends this one up and bounced off a Sagan's stick. Stays in play. Toews chased after the puck, but went too far at that. And Blackwood covers it into his left post.
And Josh Manson did his best shark impression. Rolled over Granlund twice. First crushes him into the boards, and then gets some air to the left side. Red line out the reverse hit. He got his paycheck all in one shift.
Oh, his father Dave used to play an intimidating style, was one of the most feared players in the NHL. Dave used to be an assistant coach on the Edmonton Oilers. And while Josh isn't exactly living up to Dave's reputation, he has his own style of play as a pure shutdown defenseman that can deliver pain when he's on the ice, dating back to his Anaheim years. Anaheim is usually a team that plays north-south hockey, and they can play a in-your-face style with Ryan Getzlaf, Corey Perry, Chris Pronger, and Scott Niedermayer. Manson's a byproduct of that Anaheim style. Sent up for the near half boards as it bounced off of Ben, and Colorado will clear this one out, where it's gloved down by Alex Petrovic, 28 in victory green, as it's iced.
Here's the critical question while you're on the play-by-play, Alec. Where is that spark going to come from the Dallas Stars as you get the shot from Peter DeBoer there? Because I'm just wondering where it is. They're showing Mikko Rantanen now. I feel like we haven't even called his name all game.
It's easy to pick him. Do I would ever believe that the spark could come from either one of White, Johnson, or Rupe Hintz at this point, or even Matt Duchesne for that matter, because Mikko Rantanen, for as good solid as he is, we need to see him more often getting up to the goal mouth. Trying to go right by his Rantanen, trying to take it himself, but Toews is cutting him off. The victory green trying to keep this in at the far half force. Rantanen is all tied up, and the Avalanche will escape with this one. Slap this one out to center as this bounces off of MacKinnon. David MacKinnon tried to split the defense with two defenders. And Essa Liddell and Cody Cease were both there. Towards the left point, sent across for Toews. Toews keeps his inside for Necas as it blows right by him. MacKinnon, who's tied up by Cece. MacKinnon, also tied up again. And through the far half force, Dallas manages to get it out. Maverick Bork sends this is out. And Toews scooping up in the zone. Sam Steele is watching defensively, trying to take a poke check, but is sent up for Brock Nelson. Nelson kicked out by Oninger on the easy save. The Tuchel kept it in. Around for the near boards with the far side. Out through center as Dallas picks it up. It is blocked right over the head of Eric Johnson. And Sam Girard will restart it. He has Nelson to his left. Oh, and Girard takes a spill. And Mason Marchment almost had the takeaway. And they're playing it back in Colorado zone end. Johnson tied up by Sagan as it comes out towards the left point. Harley was not there on time. Artturi will have to play this out for him, though. And the Stars will reset. Where's the firepower going to come from? That's the critical question we're going to ask as Duchesne takes up the puck and feeds it right back for Harley. Long stretch pass up for Mason Marchment, who gloves it down, and now it's up for Duchesne. Duchesne at the far corner. Has Sagan stay up in front. Sagan can't get the shot away. He's out in front. Again, Blackwood's there, and Marchment takes another slide. Harley can't hold the zone as he goes back for Lyubushkin. Harley again has the back pedal. Going down is O'Connor. Harley will set things up for Sagan. Sagan gets right by for the defense. Duchesne able to hold it. Duchesne sets up at the top of the right circle. Drops out for Lyubushkin around Kiviranta. And that's out in front. Duchesne is there. He's not for this, trying to trap the puck. One of the Avalanche is down as O'Connor gets back up. Duchesne trying to take away this. Oh, look out! Josh Manson again! And this time, the arm is up in the air. It's going to be 6-on-5. Manson's going to be sent to the box.
Yeah, he absolutely destroyed Marchment off the high stick. I was going to say, as all that chaos unfurled out in front, Alec, Colorado once again has done a tremendous job. Yes, Mackenzie Blackwood's made a couple fantastic saves, but you notice, wow, what a cross check. As they're right out in front of the net, making sure to keep the crease clean, and they've done so all game. But Marchman got destroyed.
Oh my goodness. That was as nasty of a check that was. They're going to call it interference on the cross check. Which one it is, you would not be wrong either way, but they're going to call it interference. Madison assumed that Marchman had the puck. Wrong guess, sir.
Absolutely, had to pay the price. Now, this is the door slightly ajar for Dallas. They must score here, Mr. Nava.
And Mikko Rantanen is out there. He's positioned at the top of the slot. He has 2 shots tonight. Could this be a shining moment? No pun intended, as Harley sends it from near to far towards the far corner. Rantanen could not get to the puck, and he has cleared down. No power play goals for the Stars. For their first power play opportunity, they had 6 shots. 8 total so far between the two, and that was too far for hits. The Avs get another clear, and Andre plays out for Harley again. This is not like the Oilers power play where they're usually comfortable double shifting the main 5 of McDavid, Draisaitl, RNH, Hyman, and Bouchard. And up for the far side is Johnston, who had trouble a bit. Oh, and this just exits its zone. Bad luck there for the Stars, and they'll have to restart again. Duchesne taking it up for the near side, dropping it out for hits. From near to far, taking it up for the far half boards. There's a tie-up as the Stars keep this inside. Wide to Duchesne, who takes it up onto the near corners back for Rantanen. Rantanen fires his one, bouncing puck and made its way for Blackwood, who covered up on the Johnston deflection.
Yeah, it was right there on the doorstep from the Rantanen shot, as you called it again. They're just happy that Josh Manson isn't on the ice right now, as he's one in the box with that Marchman hit. They close off a lot of physicality that Colorado's been able to close off, and as you see, they're getting the passing lanes easily. They already kind of seem to know what Dallas wants to do off the entries.
That entry was a little auspicious on that power play. Not exactly ideal for this top unit, and Rupe Hens was skating off. They're getting the second unit out there. The Marchman, Johnston still on towards the benches. I think this is going to be a timeout from Peter DeBoer. So it's an early timeout usage and a curious one that DeBoer is going to use. And I think this may be a much-needed one.
Yeah, and it's one that we already know, Alec, as you mentioned, the top line's going to be out there. They know how important it's going to be. It seems like Peter DeBoer's using this timeout because he knows they've got the score